It's time for a motivational quote for today and for the weekend as it approaches. So let's take it. So it says, "The sun is a daily reminder that we too can rise again from the darkness, that we too can shine our own light. The sun is a reminder that we too can rise again from the darkness, that we too can shine our own light." And this is by S. Agua. So I'm sure this quote is almost self-explanatory, and it's just goes to tell us that we can rise above every challenge that comes our way. And it says here that it is a message of hope and resilience. It suggests that the sun, just like the sun rises every morning, bringing light and warmth to the world, we too can overcome our challenges and shine our own light. So this quote encourages us to look within and search for our own inner light, to be able to rise above our challenges, illuminate our own path, and move forward. So regardless of whatever happens to us, of course, we shouldn't allow ourselves to wallow too deep in that challenge, in that bad time, in those dark times, but rather rise up and then move forward. We're allowed to, when you're hit, you're allowed to wallow a little, feel the pain and everything, but we should remember, just as the sun rises every morning, we should also rise above every challenge that we face. And I hope that as the weekend approaches, this quote inspires you, and I hope you share it with your friends and loved ones to inspire them and keep the positivity running along. Next is our online and newspaper review with my co-host, and we will be back.
They say is the backbone for national development, playing a vital role in shaping economic growth, fostering social stability, and enhancing overall productivity. As the workforce undergoes continuous transformation, it is crucial to not only educate but also to actively engage all stakeholders in meaningful discussions on labor policies, workers' rights, and current labor trends. In responding to these pressing needs, Koko TV introduces Walatu Walasa, a dynamic and engaging program dedicated exclusively to exploring the multifold realms of labor issues. This innovative program aims to provide a robust platform for in-depth discussions surrounding employment relations, the rights of workers, the quest for industrial harmony, and evolving landscape of work. Walatu Walasa seeks to bring to bear the challenges and opportunities facing the labor force today, making a significant contribution to public discourse. My name is Edmond Akwe, your host of Walatu Walasa.
To add all those test bots, cloud application to something like this. That's crazy. That was quick. He's gonna be able to draw level. Yeah. Wow.
This is how we do. M-I, Diva-less. Really been put in, has really been doing great stuff.
To dive into the heart of entertainment. What does that? Where we explore the latest trends in the entertainment industry. From viral moments to hottest celebrity stars, we've got you covered. Have questions? We want to hear from you. Your voice matters. Let's vibe together. I gotta say it, do you wanna hear it? You're always on my mind. music lovers, we are the Clockstack Group.
So get ready for an unforgettable music experience on our upcoming show, Happy Hour with the Clockstack Band.
We are bringing you a night filled with electrifying tunes, good vibes, and a whole lot of fun.
Whether it's singing along, dancing, or just soaking in the atmosphere, we have something for everyone. Expect surprise performances, exclusive behind-the-scenes stories, and a chance to connect with us like never before.
Don't miss out. So tell a friend to tell a friend.
And join us for Happy Hour.
Be ready to rock with us. Happy Hour with the Clockstack Band.
Say I don't wanna wait.
You're welcome back to the Koko Digest Morning Show, and if you're just tuning in, this is the Koko Digest Morning Show, and we're about to have our online print review. With my co-host here, as always, we have Miriam Abnadidi and Nanayao Asari. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning.
I hope we are well.
I can't complain. I have to be excited because the month has, finally come to an end, or is almost ending, and it comes with
Okay.
some dollars.
So me too. Billis, your bomber is ready. Yes, so now.
As always, I'm happy and I'm grateful. And yes, so this is to employ everyone that knows Mimi or that knows where she stays.
Me, myself, I'm coming.
This is the time.
Yeah.
And then
this is the time.
I'm on a budget.
Yes, as in beneficiaries.
I've heard you.
So Nanao, you told us about the Unity Cup or something that was going on in the UK, and one match was yesterday, Ghana and Nigeria.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
In fact, the first match was on Tuesday,
okay.
just as we spoke about it. It was between Jamaica and Trinidad and Tobago.
Okay.
So it was a 4-nation tournament, so that was the first semi-final. And then Jamaica won by 3-2. It was quite an interesting one. They were leading by 2-0. Trinidad and Tobago came and equalized and became 2-2. But then the Jamaicans ended up being too strong for the Trinidad and Tobagoans, if I can say, if I can put it that way. But yes, and then they ended up scoring or leading by 3-2, and that's how the game ended. So they booked their place into the final, which will be played on 31st of May. Okay. So that's on Saturday. And then yesterday, the Black Stars of Africa, or the Black Stars of the world, came, and then they faced off against our Nigerian counterparts. It was more than a game of football. It was a battle to find out who has the better jollof, who has the better musician,
I know, right?
who started or originated High Life. Unfortunately, yesterday, the coach experimented quite a lot. He brought on new players, younger players. 19 years of age, 18 years of age, players that are playing their trade in the lower leagues in Scotland, in UK, and the likes. So they had a chance to impress. Yesterday we saw a few players that we can actually add to the main squad of the Black Stars. For example, Caleb Irenchi, who had a very strong showing yesterday in the Black Stars shirt. But that being said, we lost by 2-1.
I was waiting for that.
In the first half, it looked like men against boys. Indeed, we were beaten like thieves from thieves at Makola market. Yeah, that's how the game.
So
ended.
it was just like when you guys met with the National Service boys, and then you were beating as well.
Baby.
You said men against boys.
So that was what happened in the game. In the second half, we played better. We had a lot of chances because the players had settled into the game, and then we missed one clear chance. Jordan Ayew had a chance to make it 2-0, but he missed the glorious opportunity to do that. And yesterday the game was we actually brought coverage on our social media handles. That's on Clock TV. And it was quite a fun night out, but we couldn't have the bragging rights this time around. So maybe we give the jollof wars to Nigeria for now, and then we find out what we are better at maybe another time.
No, we can't compare
it's been back to back. We got a friendly against.
Considering some of our coaches even telling us that me fall, you rise again. So next time, they'll rise, they'll re-strategize.
We are not new to this kind of form.
But we've fallen down back to back against Nigeria.
But Miriam, from your Bible perspective, you see, they say the righteous shall fall.
Are we righteous?
But we have a lot more defeats because we lost against them. That's in Morocco. We played a friendly a few months ago. We lost by 2-0. That one we couldn't even score. And then this time around,
but you see, this time we scored one.
We scored one.
So
well, it means to be
but
seen.
it seems these matches were not advertised or publicized so much, because I didn't feel a lot of Ghanaian excitement, when it comes to football.
I think it was because of the nature that the game had, because right after the season ended, the season ended for most of the teams just last weekend on Saturday, and then on Wednesday you are playing a match of this particular magnitude. Also, there was a final yesterday, the Conference League final between Chelsea and Real Betis. That we'll also talk about that, I'm sure, in the sports segment later on. Chelsea completed the European treble by winning 4-1. They were losing as at the first half, but then they came back second half to win by 4-1. And all these occurrences or events led to a downplay of the publicity of this particular game.
We understand.
But in London, at the G-Tech Community Stadium, where Brentford play as their home ground, that's where the game was taking place. And then I would say that the publicity over there was quite much. The Ghanaian and Nigerian community in London, and then as well as the Jamaicans, you could see a few people that resonated with the game coming to the stadium to come and watch it. It was a festival of football over there, and I'm sure it's going to continue on Saturday, even when people are at home and then they are relaxing, and then they can actually go to the stadium. So the stadium was almost full. So that's one thing that we can put a feather in our cap.
I see.
Also, because it was not played in Ghana or Nigeria, that led to maybe the publicity being downplayed.
Right. Okay, so let's go to what's trending. Yes, you went to usher Haja for you into the country.
that was
just
on Tuesday. We are hoping that she comes out to talk to Ghanaians. We want to know how she's feeling. But many Ghanaian students who have dreams of traveling abroad to further their studies are worried. They are worried because Trump, U.S. president, once again has come out saying that all students' visa applications should be suspended for now, because they want to run some background checks on social media backgrounds of platforms of these students across the globe, and Ghana we are part, so we have to be worried. And when I saw this, I took caution from it, because when it comes to social media, most Ghanaians take it lightly. We do whatever we want on social media.
Behavior.
And I want to remind them that what you like, what you comment under, what you do on social media, these things come together to make who you are, or to let people know the kind of things that interest you. So they should take caution from this and start deleting some things from their pages.
Aside the deletions, it also comes to their ideologies. Why are you openly agreeing to certain questionable things on social media? And the tech people tell us about digital footprints, that you can post something, especially with, for lack of a better example, ladies who indulge in some of these explicit things. You think you've deleted it from your page, but it's been saved on the app somewhere, these cloud data, and somebody can hack and access something things that you don't want to appear, especially when you become a big woman, prominent person, and things like that. I think,
and
on one hand,
we shouldn't forget that these Western countries are advanced technologically, and so we can't compete with them. We shouldn't think we are smarter than them. The issue is just stop. If you are doing bad things on social media, just put a stop to it. If not, you'll be flagged. You come back.
Yes, and for the fact that we don't even have any access to the criteria, it could be something as, sometimes there are certain comments people make that they think are harmless. Let's say a cute little girl, then they say, oh, this girl when she grows should be beautiful. It may give, let's say, pedophilic, for lack of a better, vibes. And that could flag you, make you a bad person, because why are you thinking about this little girl in that sense? So we need to be careful. Yes, this goes to everybody. Let's be careful with the kinds of things we engage in or with on our social media platforms. And it's not every inside thought we need to put out there. Sometimes, keep it quiet, because they say you don't know a fool till he opens his mouth, right? So please, let's also apply that to our social media interactions and opinions, especially on trending stories and things happening in the government. You're insulting the president tomorrow. You say, I'm going to do political science in Harvard. Hey, you better insult Trump. Or you're siding with, the U.S. The Democratic and Liberal parties or something, and then you are also saying some. You don't even know
anything. You are saying something.
So with that, one of the platforms that a lot of people have been using to communicate their ideas is X or Twitter, which Elon Musk is one of the, or should I say, is the
very, very good friends with
at the moment.
Trump as well.
But about that, there's trouble in paradise concerning this bill and other bills. That the suspension of the visa application for students, because Elon Musk has always been an advocate for free speech. That is why he actually transformed Twitter into X to advocate for free speech, that people can communicate whatever they feel or their ideas without necessarily being touted for it. So that's what he's been advocating for. And this particular one has maybe put a sour taste in his mouth, because his friend that he's been actually doing this particular campaign since, and now that he's come into power, is doing something that would also affect his business and then his performance. So that and many other things had led to Elon Musk stepping away from a role that they gave him to run or to head the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE.
Yes, DOGE.
So you heard that sometime back they asked Americans to how do you call it? They asked Americans to answer a mail as to what they do at workplace and all that, so that they can actually find out whether they are being efficient in the workplace and all that. But Elon Musk has come to say that he's stepping away from this particular role, and he opened his mouth and said that he was disappointed by a certain bill which he said was big and beautiful. And he's saying that a bill can be big or it can be beautiful, but it can't be both. This bill was about the bill passed by the Republicans when it comes to spending. So he says that I was disappointed to see the massive spending bill. Frankly, it increases the budget deficit, not just decreases it. It undermines the work that the DOGE team is doing. So this were his own words, and he said that he was stepping away from being the head of the Department of Government Efficiency. So that's another one. Trouble in paradise.
I don't think there should be an issue between Elon and also Trump, because from where I sit, I feel it is a way to make people disciplined. It's a way to make people know what to do at what time. Because if we are not going to put measures down, people would misbehave. People would do things.
Yes, that is the reason for
rules. So this shouldn't be a problem. I don't know.
So it's not a problem, but Elon Musk has been cutting down costs for the American government, and that's why he calls it Department of Government Efficiency, or that's why they call it Department of Government Efficiency. But this particular bill that has been passed sort of inflates the budget for them and increases their budget deficit. That means when you check out their incomings and then their expenditure, the expenditure in this particular bill has bloated it and made it maybe somewhat untoward towards what Dodge means or what Dodge stands for. So that's one thing. And then also, because there are two people, when you look at their sort of ego and then their sort of leadership capabilities and all that, there can be only one leader in a room at a particular time.
Yeah.
So that, I'm sure when these two people, their egos rub against each other and the likes, then there can be a little bit of fracas. There can be a little bit of emotions here and there. That's one of the reasons why we are seeing them fight. So,
well, we don't care about them. Ghanaians, please.
Your statements, we don't care.
Don't come and watch. Don't come and watch Global Digest.
But as he said, even as Elon is pushing for free speech, it doesn't mean anyhow speech.
Yeah.
So let's be guided in our utterances. Just because you have a freedom of speech does not mean everything is appropriate to say. You just keep your inside thoughts in. So yes, your digitalized newspapers. What do you have for us?
Mimi, I think you go first.
Okay, sure. So I have today's daily graphic with me, and on the front page we have, a couple of stories making headlines. So we have Supreme Court dismisses TJ's injunction application, and I know we are going to delve into that. And tax exemption irregularities hold public officials accountable, PwC senior partners are saying, and also borrow only for revenue generating projects. And this is from Tekpe. He's also saying that we should borrow monies only for revenue generating projects. And Professor Ekia Britrum chairs 18-member NMC. So these are the stories making headlines this morning. Yeah.
So, Nanaya, what do you also have for us?
Well, there's one on this, the graphic sports, and then I'm seeing Besiktas launch bid for Thomas Partey, which is on the page 7 of graphic sports. Besiktas, that is the Turkish team. They've launched a bid for Thomas Partey. Thomas Partey's contract with Arsenal expires in June. That is just a few days to come, and he is currently negotiating a new deal with Arsenal to extend his contract for at least a year or two. And that's what because of his age, Arsenal are reluctant to give him more years, but the negotiations are still ongoing. So Thomas Partey, Besiktas, another big club that is Turkey, have launched a bid for him. And then we also will qualify for World Cup. That's what the GFA boss is saying. He's assuring Ghanaians that the senior national team, that is the Black Stars, will qualify for the World Cup.
So and the GFA boss, I don't know, from the picture, he looks like senior teacher. Oh, he's not the one?
No,
he's not the one.
Kate Simon Okreku.
Okay.
That's
There's a
GFA
bit
boss.
of a resemblance with him.
I'm sure not only by looks, but by deeds as well. But we'll get into that later because they both have a similar leadership style.
Okay.
That's what I intend to be, not any other way.
Right.
And also, the Black Rockets have secured 3 gold medals. That is at the African Youth Championship. The Black Rockets are the national youth boxing team, and then they've secured 3 gold medals at the African Youth Championships, and it's ongoing. So these are just the stories that we have for the graphic sports, or the news that are making out the headlines for graphic sports.
Right. Okay, so let's go quickly into the online news. So the very first one here, I think before we go, I saw something about Chemaun to me. Did you also?
Yes, he's been in the news lately. First of all, he was called to come and assist in investigations of allegations against illegal mining that is in the forest reserves. We actually touched on it a little bit on Tuesday. So when he went, just as he was leaving the place, the Iyoko also intercepted him, and then he was driving a Corvette. One of these Porsche cars. He was pushed into a pickup, as we are made to see him, or he was ushered into a pickup. Let me just use my words rightly. And then he was taken to the Yoko head office, which is the Economic and Organized Crime Office, their head office. And then the investigations commenced, and he's been there. His bill was set at 50 million Ghana cedis. Wow. That's what the bill was set at. Amidst claims against the fact that he took some money that he was going to do some work from Exim Bank, and up to now the fruits of the work has not been seen.
You know, the striking thing about this whole story is the fact that I think, is it the MPP General Secretary, one of the secretaries of communications?
Yeah.
So one of these officials from the MPP actually spoke with the media, and they were saying, or threatening, so to speak, that they might go on a naked protest.
We can't.
Well,
because of the
yeah, I mean, I think it's all about the fact that they are trying to say that he's not being treated fairly, and it's a bit harsh, and it seems as though it's some sort of political retaliation and things like that. But a naked protest in this country, no, because it will bring a lot of controversy, and I don't think they will do that. But I mean, this should tell us the gravity of the situation, at least from their perspective, because.
So this particular one, that is Community Boy Siako, aka Chairman to me. A lot of revelations have been coming out, especially after Koko called him, and then a lot of revelations came out after Koko called him. People were saying he took money from Exim Bank, and another faction also came and said that he took some loans from Koko board. In excess of 140 million Ghana cedis is alleged to construct some roads in and around his constituency where he actually is, and that's also not done, and then there's no accountability for that particular sort of thing, and people are also saying that it should serve as a precedent, because he came to sit on TV and said some nasty things which my mouth cannot even say about the current president, and then his daughter, and then also he said some nasty things about the current president, his wife, and then his maid, and even said he had evidence, in terms of he had evidence, and if he's pushed, you'll be able to see it, to show it, and all that. When people are out of power, or when they are in power, they forget that times can actually change
and
easily.
Tables also turn.
And tables can turn easily, as you're saying, for things to happen. But right now he's there, so it should serve as a caution to each and everyone. Although, as Yara, you said, the speech is free, the consequences that will come out of it may not be free.
Isn't that India means? I think it's from one of those dictators. You can have your free speech, but what the consequences
are not free.
Mine is free speech, yes, but not anyhow speech. Please, I've changed it a little. So let's go into the online story. So the first one here says Supreme Court rejects Attorney General's bid to exclude committee members in the Tokono case. Now, this one says here, the Supreme Court has dismissed a preliminary objection by the Attorney General aimed at excluding Justices Scott Pamang, Adibu Esiedu, and other committee members from a legal challenge filed by suspended Chief Justice Gertrude Tokono. Now, the objection argued that the committee members weren't directly named as defendants, but former Attorney General Godfred Yabo Adame, representing Tokono, has successfully contended that the reliefs sought to involve them. Now, a 5-member panel led by the acting Chief Justice Paul Bafoboni ruled to keep the committee members as parties to the case. Tokono is also seeking to, in an in-camera hearing, have the committee's prima facie finding declared as unconstitutional and halt the proceedings as part of a larger suit demanding constitutional interpretation of the removal process against her.
Interesting. Yeah. So before Nanaya comes in with the constitution and other things, I would want to break whatever is happening down to the understanding of a layman. So someone will ask, what is happening?
Yeah,
so so now the Supreme Court is dealing with a legal challenge from Chief Justice Gertrude Tokono, who has been suspended. We all know that. And Chief Justice is questioning the fairness of the committee that suspended her. So there was a committee that came together to suspend her. Yeah. She wants to, know how fair they were, before she was suspended. Now, Attorney General, who represents government in court, has also proposed that some members of the committee should be taken out because they were not named as defendants. Now, Tokanu's lawyer, who successfully won this issue, said that no, they should be part because they were part of the people that suspended Chief Justice. So you cannot take them out, and so they need to be part, and that was agreed by the court. Now, the question is, what exactly is the Chief Justice seeking for? Now, she wants the hearing to be made public.
Okay.
Everything that goes on, the investigation, consultations, everything should be made public because she has nothing to hide. The second thing she's asking for is that the court declares the committee's finding against her unconstitutional. And so it means every finding that we see or come out with should be declared like invalid because she hasn't done anything wrong. And then the third thing she wants is that the court should clarify the rules about how she was suspended. So these are the things that Chief Justice, is requiring the courts for, and they are yet to be done.
But my problem, I think I have a question to what the part where she wants everything declared as unconstitutional. Because what if the findings come and they flout certain laws or something? Because I think even before, there's some time back, there was an issue about traveling expenses and the number of people to travel with, something like that. Apparently, there are rules to the judicial system as to, certain parameters to be within. And then it seems she wasn't in that. So in a situation like that, if they're using that against her, is it unconstitutional then?
Exactly. And my point also is the fact that someone who has been in a position like a Chief Justice of a court, someone that has led the judicial system is now questioning the authority of that same system because she is not there, is what I am worried about. Because if she was there, I don't think she would have, agreed to any of the things she is requesting for. Because they are, according to the proceedings from the beginning of this issue till now, you can tell that they are following constitutional procedures. And so asking that, the findings that come out from this should be declared unconstitutional is wrong in the first place.
I wouldn't use wrong as questionable. Because now, I want to go to Harvard. But yes, like you're saying, it is questionable.
Yes.
And I mean, it's not like, I'm not trying to say this against it, but you're the one in hot soup, so to speak. So certain demands also have to be measured, or certain requirements that you have should also be a little measured, so that you don't come off as something that they might even use against you, that you are, maybe they might even say insubordination, or what's that term? Something be held in contempt of court or something like that. So, and
then the camera issue, that asking that everything be made in
because she feels she doesn't have anything to hide, like you said.
What if there is something?
But then Ghanaians too are, requesting more transparency and openness. So on one hand, it helps us where now the court of public opinion would also make their judgments, and then if truly, Ghanaians don't think that she is to be held accountable for anything she's done, or not, or the things she's done aren't any big issue, then some balance could be drawn somewhere.
So yes, I want to. I've been carefully listening and then waiting to draw something from what we've been talking about, and now we heard that even in the Constitution, as Mimi said, there are certain drawbacks to this particular case. Now, when you go into the Constitution, Article 6 of the Ghana's Constitution talks about the removal of justices from that is Parliament and chairmen of regional tribunals. So when you look at section either 6 and then 7, I want to just read it quickly. Talking about, it says that where the petition, that is when there is a petition for the removal of a tribunal or a chairman or something. So it says that where the petition is for the removal of the Chief Justice, the President shall, acting in consultation with the Council of State, appoint a committee consisting of 2 justices of the Supreme Court, one of whom shall be appointed chairman by the President, and 3 other persons who are not members of the Council of State, nor members of Parliament, nor lawyers. The committee appointed under Clause 6 shall inquire into the petition and recommend to the President whether the Chief Justice ought to be removed from office. So I think this particular phrase or this particular sections, that's 6 and 7, of Article 146 talks clearly about how the removal is going to be done. So when we are talking about whether it was constitutional or not constitutional, then we say that when you look at these two clauses, do they satisfy the requirement by the president? Now we realize that there were two people that were involved in this particular one, and the constitution of the group that sat on this case can see that all the legal requirements for the removal of the Chief Justice have been, or maybe a suspension of a Chief Justice, opening an inquiry into this particular case, have been satisfied. So then, the nature of the suspension is what this particular one, the contention is about, the nature of the suspension as to whether it's legal or not. But then, when you carefully look at this particular article, there are lots of maybe, let's say, lacunas or loopholes in this one, because it's for instance, it's failing to talk about maybe when you want to put someone under house arrest to inquire or to investigate this particular issue. What if the person has 8 or 10 houses? It depends on, there are a lot of things that are in there for you to carefully know or mention that this particular case has to go in this particular regard. So that is one of the reasons why people are saying that we should suspend the case. But when you look at this, you cannot say that we should suspend the case and then Article 146 will be looked at again and then a bill will be passed and all that. That will take a lot of time. So by law, it means that this particular inquiry should continue, and then MPP's or stance or their proposal to have this halted is not going to stand. When you look at all things
what you said, legally, everything clearly tells that we are going by the Constitution. So why the contention? Why are they having issues with,
And even Madam Gertrude Tokono is saying that, or she's applying for the fact that it shouldn't be held by under camera. When you look at the section 8 of Article 146, it says that all proceedings under this article shall be held in camera. And the justice or chairman against whom the petition is made is entitled to be heard in his defense by himself or by a lawyer or other expert of his choice. So the transparency, the background for transparency is already set.
But for her asking that it shouldn't be held in camera, there could also be that option or that possibility that maybe things will be found, like you're saying, and then public opinion might influence. So maybe she might be. Am I making an allegation?
No, it's just an opinion.
She wants to go to Harvard, so I understand her.
But you know what I mean. Sometimes, like back in the day, we used to hear of J.J. Rawlings, the late J.J. Rawlings' charisma, to the point where sometimes some of the cruel things that were done under his regime are not exactly, they are sort of overlooked just because he's well liked or loved. So this is just speculation that it could, somebody could also argue that if it is held in public for the public to see, people's opinions and how much they love her would influence what the rulings might be.
Of course, she's a woman, so she's playing on our emotions. But I mean, if the Constitution is saying it should be held in camera, why do you want to change?
And then even the recommendations.
You are a Supreme Court head. Why do you want to?
And the people that she's actually electing or saying that they should be removed from this particular case, there are people that she herself has actually appointed to sit on cases which have been and judge cases. So and these cases are cases of the Supreme Court. So they've actually set precedents to other. So there are people which, in one way or the other, have actually contributed to the democracy of the country.
She's not asking that they remove them. It was the Attorney General who wanted them removed.
No, the Attorney General is actually acting on behalf of former Attorney General.
Former Attorney General is her lawyer. But the Attorney General, from what is here, the Attorney General, the current one, is, so it says here, the court has dismissed a preliminary objection by the Attorney General aimed at excluding Justices Scott Pamang, Adibo Isiedu, and other committee members from the legal challenge filed by Chief Justice.
Because they were not named defendants. And then the Chief Justice lawyers asked that, no, they should be added because they were part of the committee.
And then our current or acting Chief Justice is also saying yes, he agrees with that.
So I don't think there's any issue with this particular one, because once they have actually sat on and then have been part of maybe or have set legal precedent in this country, and then they are not named in defendants and all that. So I don't think there should be any issue.
And from what you said, they should like the Chief Justice in a way. So they would in a way support her or look out for her.
Hopefully feelings don't or sentiments don't come to cloud.
That's the case. That's why is she asking that it's being done, you know, off camera. It's because she thinks the people don't like her.
So she wants it, the in camera would have been private, not open to the public. But she's saying it should be publicized, right? And that would also, even one way or another, reflect that she wants everything out in the public. She has nothing to hide.
She doesn't want it to be publicized.
No, she said it shouldn't be in camera.
Yeah.
So I think, let me see. Yes. Seeking to waive an in camera hearing.
Yeah.
So
the Constitution says it should be in camera, and she's saying that it should be waived so that everyone will see what is happening.
Well, this story, if I will continue talking about it.
So when the Constitution says it should be in camera, does it mean that it should be open to the media?
No, in camera means it's going to be private. Yes. But let's take a few comments, then we move to the next story, which is also an interesting one. I hope my producers will give us some time, because these people. So this one is from Fodium. He says, Twitter changed to X. Elon as owner of X. Free speech on X by Elon. Trump and Elon become buddies. Trump comes with Visa social media handle investigation. We have been Elon Trump trapped. Thank you so much for your comments. Then this one is from Ogatimi. He says, hi Ogatimi. And HM Joe says, hello, good cocolicious ladies and gentlemen. And HM Joe again says, our own Kumasi Prime Minister shouldn't be treated this way. Thank you so much for your comments. The number displayed on your screens is for WhatsApp or SMS only, not for calls. And when the phone lines are opened, I always say I will alert you as well. So please refrain from calling this number. Yes, thank you. Now the next story says, anti-LGBTQ bill expected to be presented for first reading in Parliament, and this is by our Speaker of Parliament, Bagbin. So Parliament is set to revive debate on the controversial Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill, popularly known as the Anti-LGBTQ+ Bill, with the proposed legislation scheduled for its first reading during the second sitting of the 9th Parliament. Speaker Alban Sumana Kingsford Bagbin announced the move on Tuesday, May 27, 2025, noting that alongside the bill, which seeks to criminalize LGBTQ+ activities and outlaw the promotion, advocacy, and funding of related causes, two other private members' bills, the Property Rights of Spouses Bill 2025 and the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana Amendments Bill 2025 will also be presented for first reading. Previously approved by the 8th Parliament, but left in limbo after the former President Nana Akufo-Addo withheld assent, the bill's return is expected to reignite fierce national and international debate over constitutional freedoms, human rights, and Ghanaian cultural values, marking the revival of one of the most divisive legislative proposals in the country's recent political history.
Thank God that, Speaker is bringing this back. This move shows that Parliament thinks of the sentiments of Ghanaians. This issue has been one of the popularized, or topical issues we have in Ghana, especially when the 8th Parliament failed to assent to it and has been
that was the president. They approved of it.
Yeah, the president, and now is in the chambers of the 9th Parliament. We are happy about it, and I'm also concerned because Ghana is currently at a crossroad, because we don't know if we are preserving our cultural values, religious values, at the expense of international recognized policies and other things. So it's going to really be a challenge. I don't know, but I'm just hoping that
Personally, I think that this bill, if anything, should undergo some review, because the name of the bill is Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill. One of the issues that we have with some parts of the Constitution or sexual rights especially is about defilement and rape and things like that. And for the fact there's also family values, if we can be a little more clear about certain terms and things like that, like the way families like to do ifiasem when it comes to defilement or rape of a young child or something, if we can put those things in the Constitution that no, this is no longer, it shouldn't be handled at home, these things should be brought out. These are things that I'm concerned with. And for the fact that with this sexuality thing, to some people claim that it's a sexuality to be attracted to children and things like that. These are the parts of this bill that I am very interested in, that what are we doing to protect our children? And again, human sexual rights and things. We have TV stations that sometimes have people on sets like us, then you and Nana are showing us a certain kind of position. I mean, you're sitting, so you're bent over the couch on national TV, and these things are accessible to children, and how appropriate are they even? So these are all things that I think that should be, and the focus shouldn't be too much on what people are doing in their bedrooms, and maybe somebody decides to cross-dress, and now because of maybe one or two bills, now mob action is taking place. But rather we should look at the critical things that are affecting our children and even our youth, basically.
I think this particular bill is actually supposed to curb the mob action, because once we know, because at the moment when someone is caught doing that, we don't know sort of the punishment that is going towards it. And there was one statement by Cardinal Peter Turkson, who was in line to become the Pope, and he mentioned something very alarming, that this was something that was frowned upon, that was in times past, but the repercussions that came from it was not really that public. You never saw in times past that people were beaten for showing these kind of tendencies. That's in previous times. So that's one thing that we also have to be aware when we have setting sanctions to it, whether it should be corrective in nature or whether it should be punitive in nature. These are all things that we need to clarify in this particular one. So I feel that, as you're saying, the bill needs a little bit of clarity, because when it comes to certain sections or segments of the bill that actually talks about cross-dressing and says that if you cross-dress, they are supposed to be punished or something.
But then freedom of expression. Maybe I want to wear cargo pants and a t-shirt. And somebody will now brand me as a lesbian.
But even Muslim brothers wear jalabia, which is straight. Are you going to restrict them from wearing that?
These are the ones things that we need to clarify. And but I think the anti-LGBTQ or the LGBTQ values, like I should say, are values that do not correspond with the normal Ghanaian family setting or the normal Ghanaian.
Well, because of time, I don't want to debate with you, because a lot of things don't correspond with our normal Ghanaian values as well. We didn't used to dress in Western clothes, but here we are. They say culture is dynamic, assimilated, all of that. So,
but when we used to dress, we used to dress by different things.
Today,
but definitely when it comes to sexuality, and then
there are some clothes that are for men, and then for women.
That's even with when it comes to sexuality. In times past, men do not sleep with men. It's something
but apparently it's been around since creation, even in our community. As much as it's been frowned upon, these people were still allowed to exist. They were still allowed their freedoms. So the focus shouldn't just be on the same-sex relationships, but all the other implications and things there, so that we don't lose focus on the most important things. Because like I said, people are on TV doing sex positions just because it's a heterosexual thing. Is that not also against our family values? Because
it is.
Children
at a certain age should not be exposed to some of these things. But then the dilemma here is that you do not give so much leeway or so much room to the law, and interpretation. So otherwise, it defeats the spirit of the law. Because when you give so much room for people to interpret the law as it is, or as they want, or they deem it fit, then you are ending up going to sort of assent to something that is just a white elephant. It's just existing.
Well, we're hoping that
anything.
they take all of these our concerns into consideration, and after the first reading and any reviews, we'll hear more. Next is our lifestyle segment with Miriam here, and she'll be with a guest to show us the habits that are hurting us that we don't know of. So do stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
This is how we do it. M-I-M-I, Divalish, a.k.a.
Ready to dive into the heart of entertainment. Let's start where we explore the latest trends in the entertainment industry. From viral moments to hottest celebrity stars, we've got you covered. Have questions? We want to hear from you. Your voice matters. Let's vibe together.
I got a secret, you wanna hear it? You always on my mind.
Hi music lovers, we are the Podcast Group. So get ready for an unforgettable music experience on our upcoming show, Happy Hour with the Cluster Band. We are bringing you a night filled with electrifying tunes, good vibes, and a whole lot of fun. Whether it's singing along, dancing, or just soaking in the atmosphere, we have something for everyone. Expect surprise performances, exclusive behind-the-scenes stories, and a chance to connect with us like never before. Don't miss out. So tell a friend to tell a friend. And join us for Happy Hour. Get ready to rock with us. Happy Hour with the Cluster Band.
Say, I don't wanna wait.
All those test bots to have application to something like this. That's quick. That's crazy. That's quick. He's gonna be able to draw level. Yeah. Wow.
In a world where neutrality in the civil service is paramount, Ghana finds itself at a crossroad.
Clause says that a certain action should be taken, but government has to act on the basis of law. So we inquired as to what the premise for that demand is.
They say if you wish to broadcast or otherwise manifest your political allegiance or run political office, step away from the services. This is Supreme Court talking. It's not Closak speaking or Isaac Wampado speaking. This is the Supreme Court.
The Supreme Court judgment on the landmark case of Clockside versus the Attorney General has set the stage for a profound transformation. Introducing Resetting the Civil Service, going to be part of this change, because a better civil service means a better Ghana.
I find it refreshing always when I remind myself of the profound statement by the eminent civil servant, Lieutenant Anankwa of blessed memory, to the effect that it is the perfection of the civil servant that will move this country forward, and not the politician.
development. Playing a vital role in shaping economic growth, fostering social stability, and enhancing overall productivity. As the workforce undergoes continuous transformation, it is crucial to not only educate but also to actively engage all stakeholders in meaningful discussions on labor policies, workers' rights, and current labor trends. In responding to these pressing needs, Clock TV introduces Walatu Walasa, a dynamic and engaging program dedicated exclusively to exploring the multifold realms of labor issues. This innovative program aims to provide a robust platform for in-depth discussions surrounding employment relations, the rights of workers, the quest for industrial harmony, and evolving landscape of work. Walatu Walasa seeks to bring to bear the challenges and opportunities facing the labor force today, making a significant contribution to public discourse. My name is Edmond Akwe, your host of Walatu Walasa.
Music lovers, we are the Podcast Group. So get ready for an unforgettable music experience on our upcoming show, Happy Hour with the Cluster Band. We are bringing you a live filled with electrifying tunes, good vibes, and a whole lot of fun. Whether it's singing along, dancing, or just soaking in the atmosphere, we have something for everyone. Expect surprise performances, exclusive behind-the-scenes stories, and a chance to connect with us like never before. Don't miss out. So tell a friend to tell a friend. And join us for Happy Hour.
Get ready to rock with us.
Happy Hour with the Cluster Band.
Say, I don't wanna wait.
This is how we do M-I-M-I, Diva-licious.
Are you ready to dive into the heart of entertainment? Let's Does That, where we explore the latest trends in the entertainment industry. From viral moments to hottest celebrity stars, we've got you covered. Have questions? We want to hear from you. Your voice matters. Let's vibe together.
All those best thoughts cloud application to something like this. That's quick. That's crazy. That's quick. He's gonna be able to draw level. Yeah. Wow. Wow.
Welcome back to the Koko Digest Morning Show. It is time to talk about your health. We are coming to talk about the everyday habits that affect your health and your body. Today in the studio we have a physiotherapist with us who is dedicated to advancing health through innovation, economics and also education. He's a CEO of Icona Health and Research Consult, where he specializes in workplace economics and telehabitation. He has a firm foundation in both clinical practice and education. He's in the person of Michael Abuaje Edu, a licensed physiotherapist. Hello, sir.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I hope I got your credentials right.
Right. Everything's on point.
All right. Thank you so much for making it this morning. Now, we are talking about everyday habits that affect our bodies. Before anything, what is physiotherapy about?
Yes, thank you very much, and also very good morning to your listeners as well. Physiotherapy is a broad perspective in terms of rehabilitation, and we are experts that are affiliated to movement. When it comes to movement, we are the expert in movement, and we solve many diverse conditions such as musculoskeletal conditions, just like what we are about to talk on. And so our specialty is movement. That's what we deal in.
Okay, so do you have some statistics that shows that a lot of Ghanaians, do not seek the advice of, physiotherapists, something to, buttress that point?
Yes, a research conducted by Akwa et al. In 2019, who is a lecturer at the University of Ghana, we were able to indicate that he worked on the prevalence of MSK conditions among waste workers at Abosokan, and we were able to deduce that about 60% and above people reported MSK disorders. And from there we moved to the neck and then the knee. So the various parts of the bodies reported some prevalence of MSK disorders, which tells you the intensity and then the frequency of some of the policies and interventions that we should put in place to avoid some of these things from happening.
So why do you think physiotherapy is important?
Well, as I mentioned, physio is movement aspect, and as humans as we are engineered to move. And so far as we are engineered to move, physios are there to correct some of these bad and awkward posture that we have at our workplaces. And that is why ergonomics is very important. And in countries like the United States, we have something we call the OSHA, that is the Occupational Safety and Health Administration. They are responsible for visiting organizations, and at the first point they will come in and assess your place and see if the place is good for people to work in terms of the chairs, in terms of all the ergonomical structures. And if it's not good to the standard, they will serve you with a letter to change it. For example, the chairs and all those gadgets you use at a workplace. And subsequently, if they come and it's not changed, then they take you on, which means this is very important because at the end of the day, it's causing a lot of people to live with disability. So it's very important as physiotherapists, we engage the public and educate them on their well-being and then the postures that they are supposed to put their body in.
Okay, so speaking of postures, you being the CEO of Icona Health Consult, I know you would have so many, clients come to you to complain. But among those complaints, what would you say are the common, issues that people have with their bodies?
Yes. So as I stated earlier by Akwa et al., it follows the same pattern. And research doesn't lie. That's why I wanted to start with the data we have in our jurisdiction. Most of the times we conduct this research and we keep it at the university level and online without bringing it to the public. And that is why I wanted to start with that. So Akwa et al. Unveiled that low back pain is the most commonest ones that we see. And that is true. It's reflecting at the clinic. When somebody comes to the clinic, most of the people that we see at the clinic, about 80% of them are coming with low back pain.
So, let's stay with the low back pain. So that has to do with our spine, right?
Yes, sure.
Okay, so how does it look? I know you have things you used to view these things, but how does it look, clinically? Do you have diagrams to show?
Yes. So when you take a very good look at the human body, If you are standing, I don't know if the pictures are being shown, but if you are standing from behind the human body,
Producer,
you
can
could
we
see
have the pictures displayed whilst you explain?
Yes, so if you take a look at the human body from behind, you could see a line straight. Okay, so this is the statistics. We can move to the exhibit A, and then we take a look. If you stand behind, exactly, if you stand behind the human body, you could see the spine representing 1. Okay, so ideally, this is how the spine should be when a person is in neutral position. But you know, our spine is made in such a way that we will be very flexible in nature. And the exhibit you see, which is A, at the same time abnormal, that one is someone who has awkward spine posture. So instead of 1 standing behind, instead of seeing 1, here you see something like S. So this is what we call scoliosis. So this person has been assuming some position for a very long time. And one thing about the human body is that it learns the movement that we put it in. So typical example, if somebody is a smoker, mostly when you see the person's hand, you'll be able to detect that this person is a smoker. Okay, so basically our body learns what we do. And so if you put your body in such position for a very long time, then your body will adapt to it. And it will tend to give you a discomfort.
Wow. Speaking to that, I started feeling uncomfortable. I felt the abnormal is mine because I've been certain for a long time. Would that be a contributing, factor to having that abnormal spine?
Yes. So it depends on the posture you put yourself in.
So what are some of the abnormal postures that, should I say abnormal, the postures that lead to the abnormal spine we saw?
Right. So as a physiotherapist, I always advise this. I don't want to program people's brain on how to sit. But what I want to do is I want to program people's brain on how to listen to your body. Okay. The body is engineered in such a way that if you put it in an uncomfortable position, it will prompt you with a discomfort. It will tell you that I'm tired. Change my position. So there is a rule we call 30-30 rule. Anytime you sit for 30 minutes, stand up and stretch for 30 seconds.
30 seconds?
Yes. Not minutes. Anytime you sit for 30 minutes, stand up and stretch for 30 seconds. And there is another rule we call 90-90. That means if you are sitting like you are sitting, you should have at least 90 to 120 at your hip. Okay, and then 90 to 120 at your knee level as well. But I mostly don't want to program people's brain that way. I want to program the brain to listen to yourself. If your body is in an awkward position, it is definitely going to alert you that, hey, I'm tired. Can you change this position for me? And then you have to listen. And if you don't listen, these are just repetitive movements that at the end of the day will accumulate and affect your after pension life, or even within, because I have a patient 20 years, some of them at the university with serious back pain. Some of them are in wheelchairs.
Wow.
Yes, the reason being that we don't put ourselves well, especially when we are even learning or using gadgets like our computers and tablets.
I even wanted to talk about the neck. We are always bending the neck on our phones. How can we also, because with the sitting, you said sit for 30 minutes and then you stand and stretch for 30 seconds. With the neck, do I do 30 minutes, 30 seconds with that too? Or is just with any body part at all?
Yes, so that principle applies to the whole body.
Okay.
And one thing about the neck is that there is something we call tech neck syndrome, or some people call it neck syndrome.
Okay.
And it's more or less a condition which is affiliated to the use of gadgets or technology. So bending the neck forward, which tends to give you that hunchback. So for example, if I'm using my phone, you will see me, the phone is down, and I've bent my neck down looking at the phone, okay, and typing. You see, you are putting this neck in a position that will not be comfortable for a very long time. So ideally, the phone or the gadget you are using should come at least on top, at least to the eye level, so that you can type, and then when you are done, you put it somewhere. And that one will not put your neck in an awkward position. It will rather put your neck at the neutral position. And if you think you are tired, you just stretch the neck. The same rule applies. 30 minutes, 30 seconds.
Okay, so what about sleeping postures? Because with that, I don't know, but some people say the mattresses are hard, some are too soft. what contributes to that too?
Well, when it comes to sleeping, ideally sleeping, there's something we call prone, okay, or sleeping face down.
Okay.
That is something we don't recommend as physios. If you sleep with the face down, you are tempted to tilt the neck to one side because you have to breathe well. So you are tempted to tilt the neck for one side. And the average human being sits for about 6 hours. And look at the hours that we sleep. The recommended hours to sleep is 7 hours. So assuming you are sleeping face down for 7 hours, your neck is tilted that way for a long period of time, and that will cause your neck, especially in the morning, you have this stiffness in the morning, and it's as a result of this prolonged keeping the body in this prolonged posture for a very long time. So we don't recommend face down.
So what do you recommend?
We recommend sleeping by your side, side lying, and that should be accompanied by pillows. You should use pillows to support yourself in that position. The other recommendation we have is to sleep face up. That one, you have the whole range to turn yourself whichever way you want to turn yourself. But one thing about sleep is that you don't have much control, because when you are sleeping, you are not able to tell whether you are in the right posture or not. But once a while, you are able to get up and you have to change your position if it is wrong, based on the kind of conditions you have. There is different prescription for, or there is different way of teaching people like pregnant women. I don't want to go there today, but the general population, we don't recommend sleeping face down. We just recommend side lying and then sleeping face up.
Some people are also of the view that when I sleep face up, I accumulate a lot of air into my system, and so you can get cold or something. That's the reason why they sleep face down. You still recommend the face up?
Yes, we still recommend the face up. You see, you can modify your position with pillows a lot. Like I was saying with side lying, you can go side lying, you bend your knee a little bit and you put it on a pillow. And then you have another pillow at your head level in order to balance the curvatures. Now, the pictures that were shown initially, you could see the spine was having some curvatures in there. The idea is to maintain those curvatures there. Yes. So you could see from the back, this is what you see. And there is another exit B, if you are standing from the side exactly. If you are standing from the side, you could see the spine is like S shape, right? So all these curvatures needs to be there. Now, you could see at the neck side, we have some rounded. Then we come to the back, mid-back side too, is having some curve. And then our low back too, we have some curve which is marked with red. So the next picture you see is an abnormal curve. So instead of having the area marked with red, this person has a straight spine. The curve is gone. And such people, what we do is mostly to use exercises and positioning to correct it, and the person tends to be relieved of pain. So it's very important that even as we sleep, we maintain these curvatures. And if you want to sleep face up, you have to put a pillow, at least a pillow beneath your back. Okay, and then you bend the knees and put some pillows up there as well.
Pillows, we have two types, the hard and then the soft. Which one? Soft?
Yes, the orthopedic one is the best.
I see.
Yes.
Interesting conversation.
Yes. So another last thing I want to ask is, you could see that our system is made up of nerves and a lot of structures. This is going to be compressed in such a way because since we've lost the normal curve, the muscle balance and all the other tissues will also have to adjust. So their length will change, and that is not a normal, and that will give discomfort.
I see. We have some questions coming in. Let me read this, and then you will give your submissions on that. So, hi Mimi, good morning. I have been having severe back pain, especially in the upper middle part. One time I woke up feeling stiff in the upper middle part of my back. So I had to stretch, which I experienced some cracks before I felt a bit relieved. Also, I sometimes experience pains like muscle spasms, traveling from my left scapula to my middle back to my intestines or tummy, where I feel a rumbling at once, and it scares me. it occurs for some few minutes, then it goes away, either by me lifting my right hand or laying on my back. I visited the hospital and they told me there's nothing wrong with me. What do I do?
Well, this is a very comprehensive case, and mostly in this, what I recommend is you see your physiotherapist. In fact, you have direct access to your physiotherapist, and he will be able to do some series of diagnostic approach to really diagnose the problem. Sometimes it's just a minor repetitive movement you are doing somewhere. And as I sit here, it's quite difficult to tell. But the human body is programmed or engineered in such a way that if you put it awkwardly, it will give you symptoms. And sometimes some of these things could also come from internal issues. So there should be a comprehensive approach to diagnose this problem. But as she said, morning stiffness is a typical sign of some kind of inflammation or arthritis going on somewhere. And I suspect that that should be the case. And if possible, she can see the physiotherapist. And if the physiotherapist perhaps detect anything which is related to internal medicine, will also refer to the internal medicine specialist.
Okay, so she mentioned something about some stretches that you do in the morning. Are they normal? Should everyone do that? You know, every time we wake up, you know, normal stretch your hands, those kind of things.
Yes, let me put this in a very good perspective.
Okay.
The human body is like, you know, we have a light pole. When you have a pole, the pole is being supported with a cable downwards. So that's how the human body is. When you take a very good look at the spine that we showed on the television, there is something that has to hold it, and that's the muscles. Yes, there is something that has to hold it in this shape, and that's the muscles. And the muscles should always be balanced, one from forward and then one from our back. So it has to balance in such a way that one will not swing the other wayward. So the other picture you see, there will be definitely an imbalance of muscles there, right? Now, as humans as we are, we might put ourselves, like I mentioned, an average person sits for 6 hours. So if you sit for 6 hours, definitely my hip muscles have shortened. My back muscles and then my glute muscles are stretching or perhaps lengthening. So at the end of the day, if I stand up, I should be able to stretch my hip muscles because I've kept it for 6 hours without standing up. So it's a very good thing that every human being goes through like series of stretches. And typical example are footballers. You know, they stretch a lot because they use the muscles a lot. And so it's very important that we stretch when you wake up in the morning, when you get to the office, like I said, 30 minutes sitting, 30 seconds stretch, or perhaps walking around.
What about the cracks? The cracks we hear, you know, when you're breaking, you hear something breaking. Are they normal?
Yeah. Research has indicated that most of those things are myth. People say that people will kind of come on air and say, if you crack your back, if you keep cracking your back, you get arthritis. No, it's not proven. It's not proven. We don't have any evidence backing that. Okay, but it depends on how you are really stretching up to, because the muscles we have or the bones we have, they have their what we call range of motion. They have, for instance, this thing can move. This joint can move from, let's say, 0 to 50 degrees. So if you are moving the joint above that, what happens? Then it means you are going to overstretch some tissues. So it depends on how you are stretching. And that is why it is recommended that at least you are able to consult someone who has deep knowledge in what you want to do, and then the person can prescribe some few stretches.
I see. Okay, so before we move to the solutions to all these things, people lift up heavy items a lot. You know, we are in our Ghanaian setting, you see people lifting up heavy chairs, wardrobe, and those kind of things. Do you have any recommendations as to how to lift, you know, those kind of heavy items?
Yes. Thank you for this question. I think things are more or less changing in our system now. Yes, but we have diverse ways of doing things to keep your skeleton in good shape. Like I keep saying, you have only one body. There is no way a body system can be replaced for you to feel how you used to be. Yes, medicine has advanced. Now you can do a lot of procedures to make you kind of strong, but it will be quite difficult for you to live how you were living with what you were built with. So protecting what you have is very key. And those are some of the things that we can do. Lifting. How do we lift? For instance, you want to take an item from the floor. No matter how small the item is, your knee should go.
Okay.
So your knee should squat first, and then you pick the item. And if you think the item is so heavy for you, please ask for help. Don't be a strong man. Just ask for help if the item is so heavy for you to lift. Call people, 2-3 people, come and help me lift this thing before you break your back. Because we've had instances at the clinic, people will tell you, oh, I was lifting a bag of cement and I had crack at my back. It could be a fracture of any of the vertebral bones. Okay, and that could affect your entire life. So it's very important that you put your body in such a way, and mostly you could see sometimes we bend and we attempt picking things. No, go with your knee and then pick the item from the floor or ask for help to pick that item.
Okay, we have another question here. No name, so he or she says, some of us cannot sleep when we are faced up unless we cover our heads with a pillow. Is this situation normal or not? Okay, that's the person's question. They have to cover their faces with pillows. But would you be able to breathe if you cover your face with pillows?
Exactly.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, though you are asleep, your systems are working. And so I think they do have a unique material that you can use to cover your eyes even as you are sleeping. I don't know the name of that.
What about the face masks? Can't you use that? The nose masks.
The nose masks? Oh no. I will not recommend using the face mask. You should be able to breathe freely as you are sleeping. Because sometimes in our setting, ventilation is even a problem. So if you are covering your face or perhaps the nose with an item or a pillow, it's not going to help your body to function well the following day.
So you will not advise that?
No, I will not advise.
What about those that also snore when they sleep face up? They end up snoring. So that's why they sleep face down.
You can go with side lying. Yes. You can. We always advise either side lying or you sleep face up. For face down, like I said, it comes with a lot of problems or musculoskeletal disorders that we don't want to recommend.
Okay. So now let's come to the solutions. Assuming that a worker who has been sitting for a long time has started developing sharp pains, at their lower backs because they've been sitting for longer hours, what would you recommend they do so that the pain eases up?
Well, first of all, I think you can just do some stretching exercises. And then you have to also listen to the pain that you are feeling. If the pain is very severe, then you should consult your physiotherapist or a practitioner. I always say that your body is the best doctor for you. So whichever pain you are experiencing, the best thing to do is to assess the pain that you are experiencing.
Okay.
Are you doing something wrong? Probably you are not sleeping well. Probably you are not sitting well at the workplace. Probably your gadget is not well. And if the pain persists for some time, then you need to see a practitioner to diagnose what is causing that symptoms. It is very important we do that.
Okay. So Sewa from Pokwasi says, Mimi, please ask Doc, the sleeping on the side, is it on the left or right?
Well, you have to. You can change the position. It shouldn't be left or right. You can just intermittently change the position as you prefer.
Okay. We'll be wrapping up shortly, but when someone wakes up, in the morning, are there some daily routines that we can do or you would recommend we do to help us have, our body in shape, our postures in shape? Is there something we can do?
Yes. The neck.
The neck.
I think the neck is one of the areas that we should work on after we wake up, and we should also try as much as possible to work on the hamstring muscles. When I talk about the hamstrings, the back of our thigh, so that muscle should be stretched. I think it's one of them. You can stretch that muscle by sitting, okay, and then you straighten the legs, and then you attempt touching your toes.
Oh,
Okay, so you feel a pull beneath your butt, okay, and then the stretch will be coming through your back as well.
Okay.
So that makes you, or that confirms that you are doing the stretch properly.
Okay.
So that is one of the stretches that we can do. And then our neck, the various positions, you stretch sideways, you hold it for 5 seconds, you stretch the other side, hold it for 5 seconds, comes down, hold it for 5 seconds, then back, hold it for 5 seconds. So those are some of the few stretches we can. I normally don't want to recommend stretches on national televisions because we don't know, like I mentioned earlier, the curvatures we have. We don't know how the curvatures of people are currently looking at. Okay, so we have to make sure we don't do anything to perhaps make the person's situation bad. But if you think everything is fine within your body, then you can also go with the spinal stretches by just twisting your spine a little bit. I mean, what we call spinal rotation. You can just do something small for your spine. But if you don't know your status, then please, I recommend that if you are feeling any symptoms, you see a medical doctor or a physiotherapist.
Are there some long-term conditions, health conditions that are associated with the abnormal spine we saw? And can we, reverse it back to the normal?
Yes. So most of the challenges we are facing, most of the musculoskeletal challenges that appears in the clinic, it can be preventable. I mean, it's highly preventable. We can stop it from happening. However, as I mentioned, as humans as we are, we don't listen to our body, and so it makes it quite difficult to prevent some of these things.
Sure.
Yes. So they are highly preventable conditions that appears to the clinic, and we can really absolutely prevent it.
Right, Doc. Thank you very much. Your last words.
So my last word is: you have only one body. You have only one body, and you have to protect the structures. They are very complex structures in your body. If you know how to protect it, you can live with it for a very long time. Those are my last words to the viewers.
Thank you very much, Doc. Michael Abuadi Edu, a licensed physiotherapist, was our guest for today as we understood everyday habits that are hurting our bodies on the lifestyle segment. I am Miriam Abna Adede. Now let's celebrate some beautiful people.
I heard today was your birthday. I heard today was your birthday.
Right, let's get straight into celebrating our celebrants today. Okay, so today we celebrate not just the number of years you've lived, but to incredible life you've led and the love you've shared along the way. Your wisdom, strength, and kindness have shaped who we are and continue to inspire us every day. This is from your beloved wife and children to our beloved husband and father. To Mrs. Gifty Tete, USA, okay, so we say God has scripted a tale of beauty that showcases His grace and mercy in every chapter of your life. May this milestone be embossed with vistas of opportunity unfolded before you. Happy birthday, Gifty. This is from Rhoda, USA. A happy belated birthday, Linda. Wishing you many more blessings from above and a fruitful year ahead. This is from Kujo. And a special belated birthday going to our dearest Amanda Jessie. May your day be filled with love, laughter, and everything you wish for yourself. Cheers to another year of amazing adventures. And this is from me, Mimi. Amanda, happy birthday. And to our Papa, our very own, a happy birthday to our beloved man of God, head pastor of the Tabernacle of David Assemblies of God Church. May this special day be filled with joy, love, and divine blessings. May God continue to guide and inspire you as you celebrate another year of life. This is from TOD Assemblies of God. So our very own Andy, a happy birthday, Andy Dusty. Is it Herbal? So happy birthday to you, Andy. Your dedication and hard work at Clock TV never go unnoticed. Wishing you a year filled with success, joy, and well-deserved recognition. Keep shining. This is from the Clock TV team. Andy, our very own sound man, the only one who doesn't take pay. Okay, so Andy, once again, a happy birthday to you. We love you so much. God richly bless you. This is where we end the birthday segment. There's something happening in the world of sports. Yeah, yesterday I heard Chelsea was, the winners. I can see the Chelsea fans, making noise at the background. But Benedict will bring us more on that. Stay tuned. He'll be with us shortly.
This is how we do.
To dive into the heart of entertainment. Let's Talk That, where we explore the latest trends in the entertainment industry. From viral moments to hottest celebrity stars, we've got you covered. Have questions? We want to hear from you. Your voice matters. Let's vibe together.
I got a secret, do you wanna hear it? You always on my mind.
Music lovers, we are the perfect group. So get ready for an unforgettable music experience on our upcoming show, Happy Hour with the Clocksack Band. We are bringing you a night filled with electrifying tunes, good vibes, and a whole lot of fun. Whether it's singing along, dancing, or just soaking in the atmosphere, we have something for everyone. Expect surprise performances, exclusive behind-the-scenes stories, and a chance to connect with us like never before. Don't miss out. So tell a friend to rock with us. Happy Hour with the Clocksack Band. Say
all those test cloud application to something like this. That's quick. That's crazy. That was quick. He's gonna be able to draw level. Yeah. Wow.
They say is the backbone for national development, playing a vital role in shaping economic growth, fostering social stability, and enhancing overall productivity. As the workforce undergoes continuous transformation, it is crucial to not only educate but also to actively engage all stakeholders in meaningful discussions on labor policies, workers' rights, and current labor trends. In responding to these pressing needs, Clock TV introduces Walatu Walasa, a dynamic and engaging program dedicated exclusively to exploring the multifold realms of labor issues. This innovative program aims to provide a robust platform for in-depth discussions surrounding employment relations, the rights of workers, the quest for industrial harmony, and evolving landscape of work. Olatu Walasa seeks to bring to bear the challenges and opportunities facing the labor force today, making a significant contribution to public discourse.
My name is Ebron Akwe, your host of Olatu Walasa.
In a world where neutrality in the civil service is paramount, Ghana finds itself at a crossroad.
Clause says that a certain action should be taken, but government has to act on the basis of law. So we inquired as to what the premise for that demand is.
They say if you wish to broadcast or otherwise manifest your political allegiance or run political office, step away from the services. This is Supreme Court talking. It's not Clossard speaking or Isaac Wampado speaking. This is the Supreme Court.
The Supreme Court judgment on the landmark case of Clockside versus the Attorney General has set the stage for a profound transformation. Introducing Resetting the Civil Service. Tune in to be part of this change, because a better civil service means a better Ghana.
I find it refreshing always when I remind myself of the profound statement by the eminent civil servant, Lieutenant Anankwa of blessed memory, to the effect that it is the perfection of the civil servant that will move this country forward, and not the politician.
This is how we do. M-I-M-I, Divalish, aka
Hello, good morning and welcome to the sports update segment on your favorite morning show, the Koko Digest morning show. Here we bring you nothing but the best, covering all the action, both local and international. I'm your host, Benedict Nketia Kwating. Join me as we dive into the world of sports. Now to the headlines. Thomas Partey nominated for Best West African Player Abroad. 2025 Unity Cup. Nigeria edged Ghana to book final spots. Lamine Yamal signs new Barcelona contract until 2031. The Blues finally win 2024-2025 UEFA Conference League with an epic comeback. Now to our main story. Thomas Partey has been nominated for Best West African Player Abroad at the 2025 CIS Awards. The awards are on June 20th, 2025 in Guinea. This is because he has played very well for Arsenal. He played in 52 games, scored 4 goals, and helped the team a lot. He is known for his control, his leadership, and his skill. He is also a big deal for Ghana Black Stars. He is up against Victor Osimhen, Pape Matar Sarr, Sehu Girassi, and Frank Yannick Kessie. Nigeria beats Ghana 2-1 in the Unity Cup semi-final at the G-Tech Community Stadium in West London. Otu Ado started home-based players like Benjamin Asari, Kamaradini Mahmudu, Razak Simpson, and Kwame Opoku, with Jordan Ayew and Majid Ashimeru also playing. Nigeria scored both their goals in the first 20 minutes. Cyril Dessers scored for Nigeria in the 14th minute, followed by an own goal by Razak Simpson 5 minutes later. Ghana improved in the second half with Caleb Urenchi and Brandon Thomas Asante.
Smiler here, coming in to win it. One thought in his mind, get down there, get a yard of space. The slip from Razak Simpson is costly. The Dessert took advantage. Great work from Ismaila. Chukwueze does, and he delivers well. Glancing head on in, it's crept all the way in. It's 2-0. Semi Adai with the killer touch. And once again, a brilliant ball in from the right, from a good 11 yards out, and it's only a glancing blow, but there's enough on it, right at the corner. I think it took a touch off a Ghanaian defender. It might have been Simpson. It was. That's a good ball, and a great run. Three in the middle. What a goal that is on the counter. And it's a first for Ghana, not only tonight, but for Brandon Thomas Asante. Ghana's problems are halved. Really well made. That is a super run, a great pick out, and a finish to match. Credit to all.
Now to our international sports news. Lamine Yamal has signed a new contract with Barcelona until 2031. The club sees this as a top move, with the 17-year-old getting a pay increase based on his performance. He's become a key player quickly, helping Spain win the European Championship and contributing to Barcelona's success this season. In 55 games, the 18-year-old scored 18 goals and had 25 assists, shining in important matches. Yamal's first contract was limited due to his age, but now, turning 18, he secured a longer deal after negotiations with his agent. And finally, Chelsea has won the UEFA Conference League, defeating Real Betis 4-1 in Wroclaw. This victory marks their first trophy under manager Enzo Maresca. The team, which included goals from Enzo Fernandez, Nicolas Jackson, Jadon Sancho and Moises Caicedo, had a strong second half led by Cole Palmer. They also secured the Champions League spot and finished the season with an European trophy. Cole Palmer's assist to Fernandez and Jackson sparked a comeback. Sancho and Caicedo then sealed the victory for Enzo Maresca's team. Stay tuned for the highlights.
Got a chance for him perhaps, the pullback's good!
to Chelsea, the Blues, for winning the Conference League. And that is it for the latest in the sports segments. My name is Benedict Nketia Kwating. Next is the business segment with Peter.
Hello and many thanks for joining me on the Business Update segment right here on the Koko Digest Morning Show. And as usual on this segment, we provide you with the latest in the world of business, expert analysis and market trends that will impact your business and investment decisions. I am Peter Insia. Now let's get started with some latest in the world of business. The Institute of Economic Affairs has cautioned that the Ghanaian cedi could experience further depreciation by December 2025 if government does not focus on boosting local production and promoting export-driven economic growth. The IEA noted that while current measures to stabilize the currency may prove short-term relief, they will be insufficient without strong effort to improve domestic productivity, particularly in key sectors that drive exports. During a press brief in Accra, IEA fellow Professor Vladimir Danso warned that the recent gains made by the cedi might not last. He advised policymakers to move away from short-term interventions and instead adopt long-term strategies that build a more resilient economy through industrial growth, value addition, and enhanced export performance. Away from the cedi, the African Development Bank forecasts that Ghana's economy will expand by 4.5% in 2025, as detailed in 8 African Economic Outlook reports unveiled during the AFD annual reports in Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire. This report offers an in-depth analysis of major economic indicators for 8 member nations, such as GDP growth, inflation, government revenue and spending, fiscal deficit, and debt-to-GDP ratios. It also outlines potential risks to economic stability in both Ghana and the wider West African region. According to the AFDB, Ghana's expected growth in 2025 will be fueled by robust performance in the mining industry, a narrowing fiscal deficit driven by continued fiscal consolidation and elevated interest rates. The bank anticipates that growth will further increase to 4.8% in 2026. And to our last story, in an effort to reduce export rejection and improve access to European markets, Ghana's Ministry of Trade, Agribusiness and Industry is collaborating with the European Union to introduce EU-accredited inspectors at Ghanaian ports. The initiative, led by Minister Elizabeth Ofosu-Ajare, focuses on conducting pre-shipment inspections of perishable goods such as vegetables to ensure that they meet EU standards before export. My colleague, Felix Amensia, has more details on this.
The initiative is designed to significantly lower the rate of goods being turned away or destroyed upon arrival in Europe, which will help exporters avoid substantial financial losses. Ghana previously experienced estimated losses exceeding $30 million after a 2014 EU ban on certain vegetables, including gourds, chilies, and aubergines, due to pest infestation concerns. As a part of a broader strategy to improve export compliance, the government also intends to upgrade and certify local laboratories to meet international sanitary and quality standards. These efforts aim to boost the reliability of Ghanaian exports, reduce compliance-related costs, and enhance the country's reputation as a dependable trade partner in the EU market, especially in the face of rising quality demands and logistical expenses.
And that's all we have for you on the Business Update segment. Thank you for staying with us. I am Peter Insia, and today I stood in for the usual host, Clement Yabankwe, who is on an equally important assignment. Up next is the main discussion with Yaira Awono. Stay tuned.
We are the Prospect. So get ready for an unforgettable music experience on our upcoming show, Happy Hour with the Clocksack Band. We are bringing you a live show with electrifying tunes, good vibes, and a whole lot of fun.
Whether it's singing along, dancing, or just soaking in the atmosphere, we have something for everyone. Expect surprise performances, exclusive behind-the-scenes stories, and a chance to connect with us like never before.
Don't miss out. So tell a friend to tell a friend.
And join us for Happy Hour.
Get ready to rock with us. Happy Hour with the Clocksack Band.
Say, I don't wanna wait.
They say is the backbone for national development, playing a vital role in shaping economic growth, fostering social stability, and enhancing overall productivity. As the workforce undergoes continuous transformation, it is crucial to not only educate but also to actively engage all stakeholders in meaningful discussions on labor policies, workers' rights, and current labor trends. In responding to these pressing needs, Clock TV introduces Walatu Walasa, a dynamic and engaging program dedicated exclusively to exploring the multifold realms of labor issues. This innovative program aims to provide a robust platform for in-depth discussions surrounding employment relations, the rights of workers, the quest for industrial harmony, and evolving landscape of work. Walatu Walasa seeks to bring to bear the challenges and opportunities facing the labor force today, making a significant contribution to public discourse.
My name is Edmond Akwe, your host of Walatu Walasa.
All those test cloud application to something like this. That's quick. That's crazy. That was quick. He's gonna be able to go level. Yeah. Wow. Wow.
And where neutrality in the civil service is paramount, Ghana finds itself at a crossroad.
CLOSAG says that a certain action should be taken, but government has to act on the basis of law. So we inquired as to what the premise for that demand is.
They say if you wish to broadcast or otherwise manifest your political allegiance or run political office, step away from the services. This is Supreme Court talking. It's not CLOSAG speaking or Isaac Bampado speaking. This is the Supreme Court.
The Supreme Court judgment on the landmark case of CLOSAG versus the Attorney General has set the stage for a profound transformation. Introducing Resetting the Civil Service. Tune in to be part of this change, because a better civil service means a better Ghana.
I find it refreshing always when I remind myself of the profound statement by the eminent civil servant, Lieutenant Anankwa of blessed memory, to the effect that it is the perfection of the civil servant that will move this country forward, and not the politician.
This is how we do M-I.
Of entertainment. What does that? Where we explore the latest trends in the entertainment industry. From viral moments to hottest celebrity stars, we've got you covered. Have questions? We want to hear from you. Your voice matters. Let's vibe together.
I gotta say it, brother. You wanna hear it? You're always on my mind.
Unforgettable music experience on our upcoming show, Happy Hour with the CLOSAG Band.
You're welcome back to the Koko Digest Morning Show. If you're just tuning in, this is the Koko Digest Morning Show, and we are having our main discussion now. But before we get into that, I'd like to remind you that we're streaming live on Facebook and on YouTube, so you can send your comments to our live stream or to our WhatsApp number that will be displayed on your screen. And when the phone lines are open, I will also do well to inform you so you can call and ask your questions. Now, in light of the month of May being the Mental Health Awareness Month, we're going to be having a discussion on mental health today. We're breaking the stigmatization against mental health, and we'll be speaking with a psychiatrist from the Accra Psychiatrist Hospital, where she's doing a lot there, and she's in the person of Dr. Imelda Asem Ahiable, and she will be educating us on how to handle mental health and everything related. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you. Oh, I'm happy to be here.
Yes, thank you so much. So, before we even start, yes, you are a psychiatrist at the Accra Psychiatric Hospital.
Yes.
What does the psychiatric hospital do for us, or what is it all about?
Okay, so psychiatric hospitals usually are where people who are dealing with mental health conditions go for treatment. So actually the model of psychiatric hospitals is something that we are trying to change.
Okay.
Because we know that when people, just like if you have like normal malaria or any physical condition, you can go to a hospital nearby and seek care.
Yeah.
We are trying to make sure that people can seek care where in a place that is near to them. So in terms of like
if you're having any mental health challenge, you can easily go to a district hospital near you, which now almost all district hospitals in Ghana have like a psychiatric unit, and then you can get your first aid care there.
Okay.
Now, when in the district hospitals, they are not able to treat you, or they think you need further care, then they refer you to the psychiatric hospitals. Psychiatric hospitals are like tertiary care facilities, like it's a referral center.
Okay.
Yes, that's what's supposed to be, but most of the time we end up getting patients like, I mean, the education hasn't gone down well, so we still end up getting patients, a lot of patients who come walking, and that's their first ever encounter with the psychiatric hospital.
Okay, so, but then even with the first encounter, would they not be provided any care?
Oh, they'll be provided care.
But do you also do general medical care too?
Some psychiatric hospitals do, like Pantine Hospital, for example. They have a general medical care as well as psychiatric care. Accra Psychiatric Hospital is mainly psychiatry, but if our patients have like medical conditions, we also can treat, because we are all doctors anyway.
Okay. So has there ever been a situation where maybe somebody is in need of maybe gynecological care coming there? Would you be able to provide that advanced level of care?
No. So if they are coming, if you go to Pantine, you need gynecological care, yes, they can manage you there. But in Accra Psychiatric Hospital, if you need gynecological care, we would tend to refer you. So we'll give you like the first aid, and then we refer to the nearby hospitals.
Okay, so there's also the notion that Accra Psychiatric Hospital, there's the people who have maybe very, very serious mental issues. I don't want to use a derogatory term, but you know what I mean. Is that true?
Not really, because when it comes to, people don't understand that mental health issues is actually a wide range. It borders from even people with sleep, people with sleep issues, not being able to sleep, people who have issues with relationships, sex, people who have issues with anxiety, depression. So when it comes to like mental health conditions, it's actually a very wide range. There's the serious ones, and then there's the let's say like they are not as serious ones. Yes, and we treat all of it. From birth, from childhood to elderly people. So we treat a wide range of illnesses. So it's not necessarily just like people who have serious mental illnesses like schizophrenia, and even the more benign, like the more easy to treat ones. We treat personality issues, people who are having issues with being anxious, or maybe depression, even relational issues, marital issues. We treat all those things.
Okay. So when you say you treat them, do you also act as psychologists for these people, or that's also a different thing?
Okay, so because we are a specialist hospital, we have doctors who are specialists in psychiatry, and we also have clinical psychologists who are also specialists in their field. We have occupational therapists, we have the social welfare department. So it's more like a specialist care. Yes, psychiatrists are trained to give some psychological treatment, but clinical psychologists are also well vested, and we have all these people around, so we tend to let them do
their job. All right. So then now let's get into the mental health conversation. What exactly is mental health? What is it different from mental illness as well? So 2 in 1. What is mental health?
So mental health is everybody. So everybody's ability to be in a state of mental well-being, where you are able to realize your full potential as a person, where you are able to cope with the normal stresses of life, where you are able to work well if you are going to school, study well, and in general be in a place where you are able to relate well with others and contribute to your society. So I've said a lot of things. So there are a lot of dimensions when it comes to what your mental health is. If you are able to realize your full potential wherever you are, it's a sign that you have good mental health. If you are able to relate well with others, it's a sign that you have good mental health. If you are able to cope with the normal stress of life, because there's stress. Whatever you do, the stress will come. You have good mental health. If you are able to work well, learn well, contribute to your society, we say you have good mental health. So all these things are like dimensions of what your mental health is about.
So speaking about the normal stresses of life, what can we define as normal stress of life, and then what is, extreme?
So for everybody, it's different for everybody.
Okay.
So so I say that it depends on who the person is, because someone will say like a particular stress may not be that bad for them, but someone will say, so it depends on the person first of all. But in general, even having to wake up in the morning and go to work,
very early.
very early, it's a stress of life, because you could be sitting like relaxing somewhere. Coping if you have a family, coping with raising your kids, coping with your partner, coping with your co-workers. All these things are like the normal stresses of life that you expect to happen. Maybe getting stuck in traffic.
Yes, that's one stress.
Your car is not working. Like all those kind of things are things that you may face like as a normal stress of life. But then there are some things also extraordinarily stressful. For example, if let's say you are unfortunate to be involved in an accident, or to see somebody hurt, or maybe to be attacked by somebody or something. All those are extraordinary stress, because you wouldn't expect that like that should happen to you, and it's what those things are things we call trauma. And when it comes to trauma, there are different types of trauma. There can be trauma that is like a sudden huge big thing, like for example, let's say people who were involved in like a fatal accident, and then you saw people die and limbs everywhere, or maybe you just came up on it. Maybe somebody who unfortunately has been abused, maybe sexually, physically abused, or attacked, or mugged or something. That is an extraordinary stress. But then we also have something we call complex trauma. Complex trauma is if you are undergoing it's like a constant kind of trauma. You cope with it, and then it continues happening. You try and cope, it continues happening until the point where your coping mechanisms cannot handle the trauma anymore.
So what's an example of something like that?
Oh, complex trauma is, let's say if you are living with an abusive partner, maybe even if it's not physically abusive, an emotionally abusive partner. If you are living in a place where you are constantly being discriminated against.
Okay, so it means that the thing causing your trauma is always there.
Yes, it's always there.
But what about situations where, let's say with our parents, right? Now they've been married 50 years and then one is gone. But so maybe the one who's still alive maybe stays an extra 10 years. In that 10 years, they are still facing some kind of trauma where they try to deal with the loss of their husband or wife, but is that also something that we can classify as complex trauma?
So that is what we call grief.
Okay.
Yes, that's what we call grief. And grief is also a type of stress that no matter what you do in this life, you will deal with grief in one form or another at a point in your life. So, yes. But grief, for example, is not really trauma. We will not call grief trauma.
Okay.
Because we know that it's a normal part of being a human being. But there are types of grief.
Okay.
So there is normal grief, and then there is what we call abnormal or prolonged grief. So we expect that even if you are grieving somebody, usually within the first 6 months or at most a year, you should kind of have been able to cope with it and move past it. But if it's been more than a year and you are still in the active grieving process, then it could be that there's a problem.
Oh, but sometimes maybe the depths of the love and all of that, because it seems, as you said, it depends on the person. So what if, based on the relationship, the person is grieving for a longer period than what's termed as normal? That's why I was asking if that could be, because some people change totally after the loss of a loved one. So that's why I'm asking if that's that kind of trauma.
So it's more like, so if you lose a loved one today, it's fresh, it's very painful, and most of the time you would go through something called the stages of grief.
Yeah.
And at the end of the stage of grief, we expect that you get to a point of acceptance. Yes. But if you don't get to the point of acceptance within a certain time, maybe, yes, the loss of a person permanently changes your life and the way you adjust to things, maybe the way you dress or the way you used to behave will change. But then you have accepted that the person is gone. But if after a year you have still not accepted the person is no more, and you are still not sort of adjusted to the fact that they are not there, if you still are in denial that they are still denying that they are not alive anymore, you are still maybe hearing their voice in the house as though somebody was calling you,
or smelling them.
Yes, smelling them. You've not been able to touch their things or move anything that belongs to them, because it's like you want to create the illusion that they are still there in your mind, because you just don't want to accept what has happened. Then that is not normal grief.
Okay. But back to the complex trauma. So in a situation, you said this kind of trauma, you've tried to deal with it, but it's still there. So you use the abusive partner as an example, and maybe an emotionally or verbally abusive partner. Wouldn't leaving that situation be a form of coping as well? Or that is like a curative measure?
Well, I mean, if you even leave this, sometimes you can even leave the situation. But if the mindset and whatever they told you while you were in that relationship is still playing in your mind constantly, then it's almost like you've left the situation, but whatever scars that they've left you with, it's with you. And if you change the way you behave, the way you see yourself, the way you think about your future and your potential because of what you've gone through, then in that case, you've still not really dealt with the issue. You've left the situation, but whatever they were telling you is still playing in your mind.
Okay. With this explanation you've even given, it's bringing me back to childhood trauma. So, does that also fall under complex trauma?
Yes, it would fall under complex trauma. I mean, but most parents, in general, normal parenting, we all our parents, they don't deliberately do it. Yes. Okay. And another thing about that is childhood trauma is also depends on who you were living with. Because sometimes if you are living with somebody who, it could be your parent. I mean, it's rare for parents to really do that. But like if you're living with somebody who was very emotionally abusive, very physically abusive, deprived you of everything, of things that normal children need, like food, even encouragement, opportunities to go to school or do well in life, or neglected you totally. Like they may be giving you everything, but completely neglected your emotional well-being and all those things. Like if you say all those kind of things are things that can lead to some child trauma. But also, I've come to understand that sometimes our parents too, they didn't know better. Yeah. So, I mean, if now they know and they are trying to change, yes. But then some of our parents who didn't know better and maybe they use very strict methods to rear their children. Yeah. All those things are things that can lead to trauma in your child later on in life. The most important thing when it comes to, I think, maybe children and those things is to always ensure that your children know that no matter what you do to them, you actually love them, and it's not you are not doing it in a place of like you're trying to control them or in sort of like a manipulative way.
But you know, some people would, I think our parents, when they used to beat us mercilessly, they used to tell us that their parents used to beat them mercilessly because they loved them. So they are doing that to us because they love us. So if we translate this kind of abuse as love, wouldn't that also bring some form of trauma or continue that cycle?
Yes. So then I'm saying that they didn't know better. But now that there's so much information and many people know better, I wouldn't expect that the parents will not realize that, okay, the way I was treating my daughter at that time was not normal. Even if that's what my parents did to me, it's not something that's normal. At that time, I mean, there was little information.
Yeah.
People just used what they saw their parents do to continue. But now there's so much information. So in the place of so much information, you can't keep saying that, oh, that is what my parent did, so that's what I'm going to continue doing. And if it is something that caused you yourself, many people don't even know that they were traumatized. Like many people don't even know that as they were growing up, like how their parents treated them was not a normal thing. And when you get to know that it's not normal, then that is when you have to deal with it yourself, come to terms with what happened to you, understand that this is not a normal thing. So this is not what I'm going to also pass on to my own children. So in that, I mean, when it comes to parenting and those things, I know parenting is very difficult and it's very, very, very stressful. I don't have children myself, but the few times that I've had to like take care of my nieces, like I'm always happy to give them back to their parents. Come for a stone. But so I can imagine how stressful it is, and you know, everything that you do, children are like the biggest mimickers. Like whatever you do, like it's as if they copy you, whether you want them to copy you or not. So with all that in mind, I can imagine like how anxiety inducing it is for most parents to feel like, what if I'm doing something and maybe you see this and then she's going to do, what if she learns something bad from school or from me and then her whole life is messed up because of it. So it's a lot of anxiety. So you yourself as a parent, you also have to, at every point in time, be checking in on yourself that you have, your mental health is in the right place. You and your partner, that your mental health are in the right place. That you are creating an environment in your home where children understand that the both of you as partners are a united front. That is one thing. Because when you don't present a united front, the children will always exploit it. That is one. Then in another case, you also create an environment where your children can come to you at every point in time, where they are not afraid to come to you. Because no matter what you do, your children will go to school. They will go outside your house. And they must be safe to always come back to you and tell you that this and this is happening in my house. And all these bonding and teaching children how to behave even starts even in the time that we are infants. In terms of like, we call something called secure attachment. So secure infants who are very secure with their mothers and with their parents, especially when they were babies, whenever they cried, they had someone holding them, so they had that secure attachment. They are easy able to explore. They are easy able to express themselves because they know that whatever the case, my parents, So you see that they are always walking around, pushing things, touching things. And when they push something and it falls down, they'll look back at their mother just to make sure that she's still there. Like whatever the case may be, she's still there, and they continue. And it helps build confidence in them.
Okay, so we've started getting a few questions, but yes, we were trying to understand mental health and then mental illnesses, and then we went down this rabbit hole.
I know.
So what about mental illnesses? Where does your mental health turn into a mental illness?
So when it comes to mental illness, as I said, there's a wide range of mental illness or mental health conditions, just like how we have a wide range of physical health conditions. So let's start with the common ones. So we have the common ones like something we call anxiety disorders. So anxiety disorders is when someone is anxious. You know, anxiety is actually sometimes good. For example, if you are going to write an exam, and you are not anxious about writing the exam, it's not very likely that you are going to read.
Oh, maybe you're not anxious because you've read. What about that?
Yes, okay. But before you go and start reading, you have to say, hey, I have to read this exam so I don't fail. So that idea of worrying that I have to read so that I don't fail is what like would mostly activate us to do something. Maybe the anxiety that, okay, if I don't go to work, I will not be paid and I will not be able to get money to buy food and all those things. It's what properly pushes us from our homes to go and look for a job. So like anxiety is good to an extent, but when anxiety is no more like a force that pushes you to do better, and it becomes like you are constantly worrying about things, especially things you can't control, and it has become like a negative cycle, a negative cycle in your mind. That is when we say that maybe you are becoming too anxious, or if it gets to even further, then we have maybe an anxiety disorder.
Okay.
So we have several types of anxiety disorders. So one thing about anxiety is you are afraid of the thing, and then you avoid the thing. And that avoiding behavior is usually what then causes the person to have problems in their lives. We don't say something is a mental illness unless it's affecting a person's function.
Okay.
And in function, we mean their work, their relationships, their education, how they see themselves. So because of they are having this particular symptoms, they are not able to fulfill your potential or fulfill your obligations, then we say that it's a problem. So in terms of anxiety disorders, we have different types. We have the generalized anxiety, which is actually, I think, is very common, especially among our older women, where there's this person who, maybe this auntie, who always worries about everything, even things that have nothing to do with her. Like if she hears that maybe this distant relative or distant family friend is dead, am I also going to die? Is this how life is? Are we all going to die? You see that kind of thing. They are constantly worried. Hey, the economy is going to this thing. They hear something's happening in Russia, that's why in Ghana, hey, that means something going to happen to us too. Like they tend to get worried about every little thing. Yes, and to a point where they are so worried that it becomes a crippling force.
Yeah.
Then we say that is a maybe generalized anxiety disorder.
Okay.
Then we also have social anxiety. Some people are so afraid of being among people or standing in front of a crowd or in any place they think that they may embarrass themselves. Maybe you are a very, very good lawyer or you are very good at your job, but because you are so anxious that people will judge you if you make a mistake, you can't stand in front of the court or you have a good idea to present to your boss, but you can't present it because you are afraid that if I make a mistake, people will laugh at me and I'll be judged. And this social anxiety usually starts even in a time we are children. You can notice it in children a lot. And if it's not managed well, you tend to grow with it. And you see very brilliant people that have so many good ideas, but because they are afraid of voicing out and they are always worried about being judged, they never actually realize their full potential. Other people either steal their ideas or they hide behind it.
So from what you're saying, it's giving me ideas on self-esteem too. Does that play a role with anxiety?
Yes.
Okay.
So as I said, it's affecting the way you see yourself, your function, in terms of even how you see yourself as a person. In that case, then we say, yes, this is a mental illness or a mental health condition.
Okay, so you mentioned anxiety. Which other ones are common?
Depression. Yes, depression is also very common. And it's, so you as a normal person, you can feel sad sometimes.
Yeah.
It's not, it happens. But then when we say somebody is depressed, it means they've been feeling sad for more than 2 weeks. You have to have gotten to the 2-week mark, and it should be an almost persistent sadness. It means you feel sad almost every day, all day. And apart from that too, because of you are feeling sad, maybe you feel tired all the time. It's one of the cardinal symptoms where you feel fatigued. Or maybe some people say like they have malaria, but when you go and check, there's nothing wrong. Everything is fine. But you feel tired. You feel like getting out of bed is so difficult. Nothing seems to excite you anymore. You've lost interest in the things that you used to enjoy doing. Maybe hanging out with your friends, watching TV, or whatever that makes you like happy on a normal day. You've either lost interest or even how you used to enjoy it, you don't enjoy it anymore. And sometimes it can even affect your sleep. You may become withdrawn, as in keeping to yourself all the time because you feel like you don't want to go out there. And you are so, most of the time, people who are depressed have so many negative thoughts of themselves and about their future and about other people. So then it's like you find yourself, you are more in your mind than you usually would be. Instead of being out there, maybe talking to other people, or something funny happening around you would make you laugh, but now it really is not moving you anymore. When you have all these symptoms, we say that you are depressed. However, there are some people who can be depressed but are still functional. So you are depressed but you are going to work. But as you are at work, you may not be as productive as you usually would be. You are just like going through the motions, but it's not that you are really enjoying it or the fire that you had is the same.
So you know how nowadays there's a lot of information. There's way too much information for us. I think I've heard that term before, functional depression. I've also seen clinical depression. So you just explained functional depression, right? Where you go to work and you're still able to do everything, but you're not as productive as you would be if you were in a better mood. What about clinical depression?
So clinical depression is actually what I described earlier.
The first
so
one.
If you've been depressed, like the symptoms I've spoken about, you've had these symptoms, and it's been more than 2 weeks, or it's pushing 2 weeks, in that point, we'll say that, yes, you are clinically depressed. So depression comes in several forms, depends on how severe it is. So if you are mildly depressed, we will treat it, and if you are severely depressed, we also treat it. So we only say you are clinically depressed if it's been more than 2 weeks, because we know that as a normal person you can be sad for some time, but if it's more than 2 weeks, then we say, okay, now this is a problem.
So with the treatment, how do you treat it?
So depending on how severe it is, so for maybe mild to moderate depression, usually speaking to a clinical psychologist usually can help, and most people can be treated by doing only that, like in terms of figuring out the person's negative thoughts. So when you go to a clinical psychologist and are speaking, it's actually more structured. People think that it's just like you're talking, but no, it's actually more structured. And the questions that are asked and the conversations that I had are very structured in the form that the person is trying to figure out what are the negative thoughts this person is having. And then when you find the negative thoughts, then you say, okay, what things you help the person find out what are the things that make those negative thoughts untrue. Because most negative thoughts, in fact, negative thoughts are generally untrue. So you help the person identify why those negative thoughts they are having is not true. And then you help the person find ways of stopping those negative thoughts when they come, and also coping with the symptoms that they are having.
So aside anxiety and depression, are there any other common mental illnesses?
A lot. So we have the substance use disorders.
Yes, we even have a question on that. So then since we know the common ones, what are some of the uncommon ones?
So for the ones that are actually not common are the severe ones, that's the schizophrenia and the bipolar. That's what a lot of people hear about, but actually they are not
what we think
as
they are
common. Because
they're not common.
They're not as common because the anxiety, depression, the sleep problems, and eating problems, and the personality problems are actually more common among everyone. But then in schizophrenia, like for example, in schizophrenia, like it's not as common for people to have schizophrenia. So for schizophrenia, for example, is a severe mental illness where there is a chemical imbalance in the brain, and sometimes even a structural problem, and the person's brain didn't develop properly, and the connections are also not well formed. So then the person may be having symptoms such as hearing voices, but it's actually the brain that is producing the voices. So you can hear people talking about him as though people are speaking, but it's the brain chemicals itself that is producing those voices, and it can be very convincing to them because they believe that whatever is happening to them is real. So they have a difficulty distinguishing reality from what the brain is producing.
Hey, Wow. But you mentioned personality disorders too. Are they also part of mental health or mental disorders?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So what are some personality disorders? I know of split personality where you are two people and you don't remember you are this person, something like that.
So what you're talking about is actually not a personality disorder.
Oh, okay.
That's actually also one of the severe rare mental illnesses.
Okay.
Yes. So somebody can have a trauma, and then in the trauma they can have a split personality. Sometimes it can even be a problem with the brain itself, maybe seizures, or maybe a tumor or something that can be causing things like that. But when it comes to personality disorders are so when you see someone's personality is like how they behave, how they see themselves in the community and all those things. But when we say personality disorder, it means a person has a problem in the way they behave with other people and they relate with other people to the point where it's causing their function. As I said, function is always what we use in mental. Their function to decline. They are not able to keep a job down. They are not able to relate to anybody else. They have issues everywhere, all over their lives, and it's all because of how they behave. Now, in terms of personality, our personalities are formed usually when we start getting formed when we are children. By teenagers, it's getting stable. By 18 years, you say that your personality is almost formed.
Okay.
And personality disorders are people who have issues relating with others. So they are like, for example, there are different types. So the example, we have people like the narcissistic personality. Lots of people use it as the normal narcissistic, but most of the things they describe may not even be that. So narcissistic personality are people, they generally tend to have a very inflated self-image of themselves. They don't want, they feel like they should be praised, and that the rules that govern normal human relationships do not apply to them. They also tend to be very manipulative and tend to use people to get what they want, and they do it usually in a way that is very very callous, in a way that is very you can see that they are doing it in such a way that it's very painful for the other person, but they don't seem to realize that what they are doing is wrong, because in their mind they are okay.
Okay. So do some of these personality disorders also stem from stuff like prolonged anxiety disorders or prolonged depression that would start to affect personalities too?
No. So people with personality disorders, it's literally this is how I am.
Oh, okay.
You understand? This is how I am. And usually it's more likely to have personality disorder if you had a difficult childhood.
Okay.
Or if you had any trauma while you were growing up.
Okay, so trauma can be one of the contributing factors
of personality disorders. Even where you grew up. If you grew up in a difficult neighborhood where maybe there's also drugs, a lot of gang violence, there's a high probability of you developing what they call antisocial personality disorder. That is those who can't follow rules. They are always in trouble with the law one way or another.
So can those also be treated?
They are able to be treatable, but they are very difficult to treat. And we call those ones more like we manage them.
Okay.
Because that we now have to let the person understand that the way you are behaving is actually not what is normal society, what the normal society believes you are supposed to behave. And so you have to literally make them understand they need to adjust in order that their life doesn't stagnate and they suck everybody around them, quote unquote.
Okay.
Yes, but it's more difficult to treat personality disorders because, as I said, personality is more stable.
Okay.
But people have learned to cope with the personality disorder in such a way that it doesn't become something that affects their life as much as it does.
So let's take some questions before they overflow in this. So Kofi Nketia says, how can we live better after coming out of an abusive relationship?
So when you come out of an abusive relationship, as I said, the trauma of abuse is there. So one of the first things that you need to do as somebody who has come out of an abusive relationship is acknowledge that this has actually happened to me. Because many people, while they are being abused, they don't really notice that they are being abused. It's that's why many people from outside be like, why are you still with this person when they are treating you this badly? Because most people at the time they are being abused don't even recognize that what they were going through was abuse in the first place. Because I mean, it's very, thinking about it is very, I mean, against your own ego that I was actually able to sit there for somebody to treat me this way. So you have to actually come to terms with what happened to you. That's the first thing.
Okay.
Then whenever you want to recover from abuse, it's most important that you seek actual help with a clinical psychologist. Or we even have trained counselors. So, I mean, there's a counselor, but there are people who have actually trained, gone to school in, as I said, the techniques on how to speak to people who have gone through, like, abuse and all those things. So, you need help because there are lots of negative ideas that you come out from an abusive relationship with. And those negative ideas need to be identified and then tackled and broken down, so that you would not go into your next relationship with those negative ideas still in place.
Okay.
And then it tends to influence your life and how you see other people. So I think the first thing you need to do when you are getting out of an abusive relationship is to speak to a professional, actually.
Okay. So, Kofi Nkitia, find a professional and seek some professional help. It's time for a quick break. When we come back, we will discuss and answer all the questions you've sent me. So yes, call a friend, text a friend to join in the conversation online on Facebook and YouTube, or join via our WhatsApp number. Send your questions and we'll read them out loud. When the phone lines are opened, I will also alert you all so that you can call and ask your questions to our doctor directly. We'll be right back.
This is how we do. M-I-M-I, Divalish.
That where we explore the latest trends in the entertainment industry. From viral moments to hottest celebrity stars, we've got you covered. Have questions? We want to hear from you. Your voice matters. Let's vibe together.
I got a secret, you wanna hear it? You're always on my mind.
Music lovers, we are the perfect group. So get ready for an unforgettable music experience on our upcoming show, Happy Hour with the Cluster Band. We are bringing you a light filled with electrifying tunes, good vibes, and a whole lot of fun. Whether it's singing along, dancing, or just soaking in the atmosphere, we have something for everyone. Expect surprise performances, exclusive behind-the-scenes stories, and a chance to connect with us like never before. Don't miss out. So tell a friend to tell a friend. And join us for Happy Hour. Get ready to rock with us. Happy Hour with the Clockside Band.
Say, I don't wanna wait.
The sea is the backbone for national development, playing a vital role in shaping economic growth, fostering social stability, and enhancing overall productivity. As the workforce undergoes continuous transformation, it is crucial to not only educate but also to actively engage all stakeholders in meaningful discussions on labor policies, workers' rights, and current labor trends. In responding to these pressing needs, Clock TV introduces Walatu Walasa, a dynamic and engaging program dedicated exclusively to exploring the multifold realms of labor issues. This innovative program aims to provide a robust platform for in-depth discussions surrounding employment relations, the rights of workers, the quest for industrial harmony, and evolving landscape of work. Walatu Walasa seeks to bring to bear the challenges and opportunities facing the labor force today, making a significant contribution to public discourse.
My name is Edmond Akwe, your host of Walatu Walasa.
You're welcome back to the Koko Digest Morning Show. If you're just tuning in, this is the Koko Digest Morning Show. We are having our main discussion. We're talking about breaking the stigma around mental health. And we're doing this with Dr. Imelda Asem Ahiable. She is a psychiatrist at the Accra Psychiatric Hospital, and she's educating us extensively on mental health. So, yes, we were taking questions. Yes, you can send your questions to our WhatsApp number that will be displayed on your screens subsequently, and also when the phone lines are opened, I will alert you. You can join in the conversation on Facebook and on YouTube. Send your comments there to our live stream also. I will read them out loud and also ask the questions on your behalf. So now Wisdom Kekeli here says, how effective are non-pharmaceutical interventions like like he knows his stuff, like cognitive behavioral therapy, mindfulness, exercise, compared to medication in treating common mental health issues?
So when it comes to mental health issues, it depends. So just as like if you are treating depression, I said, so from mild to moderate, usually from mild to moderate, we do the talk therapies, which is like the cognitive behavioral therapy, has been shown to be very effective. I think about 85% of people with mild depression would actually do well on just the cognitive behavioral therapy. That is going through what is causing their depression and finding the negative thoughts, breaking down those thoughts, and teaching them coping mechanisms. And then the mindfulness therapies are also things that also help in addition to that. But in terms of but when we assess and we find that this is actually severe, or we say this, when we try a talk therapy and we are seeing that it's not working, we have tools to assess. And when we see that it's not working, then we can add like medication to it. But it depends on the particular illness. So like anxiety disorders, for example, mild and anxiety disorders can do well, very mild ones, can do well with just talk therapy. But most of the time, we will sometimes start with talk therapy, see how the person is doing after a week or two. The person is not doing well, so okay, let's add medication just to push it.
Okay.
And most of the time, for the mild illnesses, we don't treat it for a long time.
Okay.
So we would manage it for, let's say, if we are even putting you on medication, the medication is for, let's say, up to 6 months to at most a year. If you have you get another episode of the illness. That is when we then need to treat for a longer time. But usually, if this is your first brush with, like, let's say, severe depression, we'll treat you for, let's say, a year. And then if we see that you're fine, that's the end. Goodbye.
But the talk therapy, let's see, looking at even our part of the world, employment rates and things like that. And me, I'm depressed. I just lost my job, or I don't have a job. I have responsibilities. How will talk therapy get somebody out of this depressive state?
So what you are describing is like somebody who has had, let's say, a sudden stress of their life, like losing their job, and is maybe struggling to adjust. So in that time, maybe their mental health is affected. As I said, just like our physical health, it's not like all the times that you have like a headache that you go to the hospital.
Yeah.
When you have a headache, you yourself have things in place to adjust yourself to what is going on. It's the same for our mental health.
Okay.
When your mental health is affected by a sudden stress of life, like what you described, you as a person has probably grown to have some coping strategies since the time you were a child. Like, for example, if you know that your exam is coming up, you learn ahead of time, you put in some time so that you will not be anxious. If you know that maybe you've gone through something, you've lost your job, maybe while you're having a job, you were saving money. So your first idea is, oh my God, I've lost my job, what can I do? But let's say after 2 or 3 days of thinking about it, you start thinking that, okay, what can I do to help myself? It's okay, maybe I have some savings. How am I going to distribute the savings so that maybe to get I will be able to the next job.
Okay.
Maybe can I speak to people who can help me? Can you yourself sort of come up with ways in order that your mental health is not affected? So you have to trust in your body's own
so when
coping strategies.
Yeah, so when it goes beyond that,
you
seek.
Yes.
Okay.
So when you are not able to cope, when you find that I'm not able to cope, like even though like I have all these things, like I can't organize my mind properly. I'm so worried that I can't organize my mind properly. I'm so sad that I feel even the things I can do for myself, I cannot do them anymore. When it gets there, that is when we say, okay, you might be facing like some mental health challenge and you need to speak to somebody.
So let's say maybe by the time we end today's show, I get a text, they've broken my heart. And I follow you, maybe I chase you downstairs and then I go to your office to weep. Is that something that's appropriate?
It's appropriate. Yes, because you are grieving.
Okay.
So just like if I broken heart is literally like grief. So almost on the broken heart that word literally prepare us for like the bigger griefs that are going to get to us. So when you suddenly face such a big stress, somebody you like or you love is leaving your life all of a sudden. The first thing you do is probably denying. You're in denial that it's not true. How can he do this to me? Then probably you get angry that this guy is a very ungrateful guy. That kind of thing. Yes. Then but over time you get to the point where you accept that it has happened. When you face, it's not like every time you face a sudden blow in your life, it means that immediately call a professional. Okay. As I said, you throughout all your life, all the times that you were a child, that even our girls break up, girls break up, your friends excluding you, all those things were small hits that were preparing you for the bigger ones. So trust in your body's like way of treating or managing this type of sudden thing. And usually you face some withdrawal symptoms. You start thinking of the person and if I was with him, those kind of things. But over time, your body sort of learns to detach itself from the person. Just like even the same mechanisms are used for people who are involved in drugs. Like, yes, when you don't get a drug, you have some withdrawal symptoms. You'll be feeling like I need it, like you'll be craving it. But over time, when you don't get it, your body just adjusts itself and starts learning that I'm not going to get this thing. So how can I cope with not having it? And then that is how we move on. So trust in your body's mechanism. Now, when your body is not able to cope, then that is when you should seek professional help.
So with trusting in our body's ability to cope, what about the people that... So with my example, immediately they headed looking for a bottle of whiskey just to try. Is that something to trust? Because need to down a whole bottle of maybe Johnny Walker is not healthy, but in that time, that is how the body wants to cope. Is that something we should trust and enable?
No.
Okay.
So when it comes to coping mechanisms, we have good coping mechanisms.
Okay.
And then we also have unhealthy coping mechanisms. So let's say that just like your physical health, how you eat well, you exercise and all those things to maintain your physical health, is the same way that you also have to do for your mental health as well. So for your they say the same thing, a healthy mind lives in a healthy body. If you don't have good physical health, it's very difficult to have good mental health. So for example, if you feel sick all the time, you are tired because you don't exercise, you are eating like junk food, so your body is not healthy, you are not sleeping well. Yes, especially sleep. Many of us underestimate the importance of sleep because our minds work like 24/7, but during sleep is the only time that our mind literally is able to clean up itself and then rewind itself for the next day. It's actually during sleep that our mind is able to lay down memories, discard what is not important, and even when you learn, like focus on keep the things that you need in your memory. So when you don't sleep well, already you are working at like half mast. So if something actually a proper stress hits you, how to cope becomes a problem because you already were not sleeping well. So even how to get the chemicals for you to not be anxious or to get depressed is low. So you will definitely probably get depressed or something if you are in that state. But how do we also cope apart from doing all these things I've spoken about? How do you cope? Build good coping mechanisms. So building good coping mechanisms is something like we call mental resilience.
Okay.
So some of the good coping mechanisms that a person can have, for example, is having a good social network. Having, okay, let's start with the person themselves. So as we grow, as I said, we have to notice that our thoughts, whatever you think about yourself or about others or about whatever is happening to you, is actually more important than even what is happening to you. So if even before whatever happens to you, your internal environment is filled with negative thoughts about yourself, it puts you in a very vulnerable position because it means that anytime something bad happens, there's a higher chance for you to internalize those negative thoughts. And then not cope well because it's like you're already in a place. Some of the negative thoughts that people have about themselves are something like catastrophizing. So something bad has happened and then they think that it's the end of the world for them. Nothing good is ever going to happen to them. Some people also maximize the negative things in their life. So they focus on just the negative things and then they minimize even the good things. So it's like they filter out, it's called filtering. They filter out only the negative. And it's like that is how the person has been all this while. You tend to filter out only the negative things that are happening to you while discounting the positive things. And it's a habit that, like it's a mental habit that you have been doing since you were a teenager. So that is just how you deal with things. So when something bad happens to you, your mind is just going to be on the negative, not what's good parts of your life that can happen.
So in building mental resilience, how then do we train our bodies to identify healthy coping mechanisms? Because maybe, like I said, the bottle of whiskey feels like that's the only option or the best option to that person's mind or body. How can, in that situation, how then does the person train their mind to say, no, let me rather meditate as an alternative, which is a healthier thing?
So, I mean, getting back to what I was saying, so it's everything, every choice or decision you make always starts from your mind. So if your mind has like positive thoughts, and if in your mind you've made up your mind that okay, I'm not going to maybe go and take whiskey. Instead, I'm going to rely on the positive coping mechanisms that I've built all these years. So there are lots of positive coping mechanisms like meditation, like what you said about meditation, prayer, self-confidence, building self-confidence in yourself, believing in yourself, speaking kindly to yourself. All these things are like thought processes that you can do to help your own mental health. Trying as much as possible, whatever the case may be, to focus on the positive. And then when you notice that you are entering the mental habit of maybe worrying, because worrying is actually a mental habit, of worrying or just ruminating on negative. So ruminating is like you are thinking about the negative thoughts. You are chewing on it, you spit it out, you think about it again. If you find yourself going into that negative mental cycle, you say, no, I'm going to stop. Tell yourself, I'm going to stop this mental cycle. So first of all, you have to notice that this is an unhelpful mental cycle that I've been doing all these years. And you have to tell yourself, I'm going to stop. So just, you actually have more power over your mind. Many people think that their mind is just there, but you have the power. So you have the power to say, no, I am not thinking about this. I don't know if you've ever been in love with somebody and the person has spoken and said, no, I'm not going to think about him, and you never talked about him again.
No, it will catch you in the night.
Yeah, it will catch you in the night too. But you can actually, yes, you can actually force yourself to say, no, I won't think about it. It's literally like what we do, call it thought-stopping techniques. Thought-stopping techniques that I'm going to stop this thought.
Repression or
it's not you're not repressing so repression is when you don't allow yourself to feel the emotion, okay? But in this case, I'm saying no, I won't continue in this negative thought pattern.
Okay,
I'm not going to continue thinking about this. So then you think, what are other things I can do to distract myself? What other better things can I do to distract myself? Now this is where our social systems come in. This is where our hobbies and our habits also come in. So building a good social network. Maybe you have a group of girls that are correct. Like yes, you have to have a good social network. That's why you have to be very careful who you also allow into your social space, because some people may also be dealing with their own negative behaviors and then impacts on you. Some people too are also good with coping, and they have learned. You all know the people in your lives that you can see the person is well adjusted. So and they tend to say positive things to you. They tend to fill your cup. So then you find those people who fill your cup, who say positive things and who would help you through it. That when you yourself, your coping mechanisms is not like at its best place.
Okay, so you mentioned that sometimes we tend to internalize negative thoughts. We even tend to even filter out the negative thoughts and then ruminate on them. So in a situation where, let's say, there are people out there who are like, my whole life, bad things upon bad things keep happening to me, to the point that I feel like I deserve it. So yes, one or two things happen, but let's say the gravity of the bad things that happen to them versus the gravity of the good things, you realize that there's a very big gap. So in their term, it's like, oh, something small, but then the bad things are really, really big. So how does somebody who has lived such a life also develop positive coping mechanisms or positive thinking patterns?
Everybody can develop positive thinking patterns, no matter where you are and who you are and what you are facing in life. Because we even have people who have been diagnosed of cancer who maintain their positive thinking mechanism. And it's not as if like positive thinking, when we say positive thinking, negative positivity, in the term that something bad is happening to you and then you are in denial, like, oh no, it's good, God, like, we have a lot of people who also have negative, toxic positivity. We're not talking about toxic positivity. In this case, you have felt the emotions of it. You've acknowledged that this is actually happening to me. And you ask, okay, even though this is happening to me, how do I keep myself literally in the good mental space to deal with it, so that I'm not, anxiety doesn't kill me or worry doesn't kill me before the illness. So yes, a lot of people, if you've lived a life where there are a lot of difficult things happening in life, but I can tell you that even in the most in the worst thing that has happened to your life, I don't think that 100% nothing good has ever happened to you.
That's what I'm saying. Like, so to them, maybe 90% has been bad and just 10% has been good.
Yes.
And now this 10% is seemingly not enough to hold on to have that positive thinking pattern, because I mean, a greater portion is all terrible things.
So when we identify people like that, usually what we do is we try and speak to them and counsel them to teach them how to maximize that 10%. It's like somebody who has gone through a trauma. If we know that this person has been traumatized in a particular way, we speak to the person immediately. We do something called psychological first aid, because we want to help them focus on just that, even if it's just 10%, focus on just that 10% and maximize it. And I can tell you that for most people who think that there's their life is, when you start going into it and you start speaking to them and you start showing them that actually life hasn't been 100% that bad, they start noticing that, oh, actually it wasn't that bad. It's you yourself noticing that my life actually hasn't been 90% bad. But when you are going through a difficult thing, it's easy for you to say that, no, everything in my life is bad, because you can't see the good now.
Yeah.
But most of the time, when you are able to really focus on the you go through your life properly with the help of somebody, you actually be able to notice that it's not actually true that 90% of my life has been bad.
Yeah.
You would find some other good things that you have not been focusing on all this while.
Okay, so I think we have a pretty lengthy comment here. This is from a doctor, so let me try and read it quickly. So there seems to be an upright or increasing trend in substance misuse, talking about the red or concoctions, selling it in beer joints, mostly end at the hospital, either at a bad state or through a severe accident. How is Food and Drug Authority helping shape these anomalies? How is the Mental Health Authority and FDA collaborating to bring the perpetrators to book, because it is really affecting society negatively? Then he says again, there seems to be, okay, it's the same thing. So this is by Anyoka Dominic from Boligatanga Hospital. So Mental Health Authority, how are you dealing with Wunim Red?
So, I mean, since the whole Wunim Red thinking, so actually, we've been dealing with this substance use disorder for a long time. We've actually been raising the alarm for many years.
Yes, I remember that cocaine advert where the lady traveled. Yes.
We've been raising the alarm for many years, but it's like recently when it became a thing on social media, that's when many people have identified that it's actually a problem. But it's a problem that has been there for several years. Most of the drugs that are smuggled, most of the drugs that are used for these, like the Wunim Red and those things, they're actually not even approved by the FDA. They are not coming in through legal means. They are coming in through illegal means. They are usually being smuggled into Ghana through like our borders. So in terms of when it comes to those like people entering things in illegally, the first people that we have to go to are those who are supposed to be manning our borders.
Yeah.
Because when we are able to cut the supply, that is like when we cut the supply, then it's less likely for people to then get exposed to it. And even those who are using it, as I said, even though you go through some difficult withdrawal, and unfortunately, opioid withdrawal is one of the most difficult withdrawals to treat. But generally, if your body goes through it, after a while, your body gets used to the fact that I'm not getting this thing, and then adjust to it.
Okay.
Another thing about this is when it comes to NACOB and all those things, there's usually a way that medications are prescribed.
Okay.
There's a fixed standard where medications are prescribed, and a way that even pharmacists are not supposed to dispense certain control medications without prescription, and even in the quantity, they can't dispense a certain quantity of a particular medication without prescription.
Okay.
But here is the case where we have so many chemical stores and people who are not really regulated. So without the regulation, it's very difficult to control. Because even if you send a prescription or something and say, I want to buy this medicine, the pharmacy will say, oh no, we don't have it. But just walk a few meters, somebody in the pharmacy will chase you and say that, oh, I have somebody who can supply it for you. So that is the first thing, legislation.
Okay.
Now, and I know that the legislators are trying. I've heard of some initiatives they are putting in place to sort of control these drugs and how they are entering into our borders, and even the people who are selling them in the black market and all those things. But notwithstanding, when it comes to mental health authority, we've been raising this alarm for several years. Actually, about 3 or 4 years ago, we did a study in some of the schools, and that was when we saw that there was like a high rate of students who were using these drugs. And most of the time, they start with things like cannabis, cigarettes, which is more common. Cannabis is illegal in Ghana, but I mean, it's very common.
Yes.
And usually mix the drugs like the opioids in the cannabis. Now, opioids are very addictive. They are one of the most addictive drugs. So years ago, when, for example, like, all this started like a few years ago, where people were not getting the natural opioids. Yeah. Natural opioids usually are brought in were grown in Afghanistan.
Okay.
Now, when Afghanistan closed its borders to the export of natural opioids, people started making they started producing it in the lab, the chemicals. And then the chemicals, when they produce these ones and the people got used to it, they produce a higher form and a higher form and a higher form. And you continue using it to the point where your body cannot cope, your heart cannot cope with the amount of opiates you're taking anymore. Or your breathing systems cannot cope, and then they shut down and then you die.
Okay.
But when it comes to the red that we have now in Ghana, I think that what happened was, what is happening is that people are, when you start using it, you can't stop because your body gets quickly used to that dose, and you need to go a higher dose, and you need to go a higher dose, and you continue going higher, you continue adding more and more things. We've been trying to raise awareness about this for many years, and even right now we have outreach programs, especially in the places that we know. So we know the places that these drugs are coming, especially at least in Accra. You know the places where these drugs are coming from, and the people whose lives are being affected by it. We try and go for outreach programs to try and sensitize them, try and ask. When it comes to substance use too, the problem is that the person themselves have to be willing to change. And managing substance is not only, it's a multifactorial thing. It's not only about stopping the drug getting to their hands in the first place, but even the social support, because it's very expensive to manage substance use. And apart from that too, even where they stay, if you are staying in a slum, you have higher access to it. And so even housing, it means even if I treat this person and encourage the person and help the person to stop using the drugs, if they are going to go back into the slum where they get the drug, and that is where they stay, and their neighbor is smoking or their neighbor is using the drug, I mean, it's just a normal human being. You would crave to continue using the drug because that is what he's seeing, that's what all his neighbors are using. So even social support, housing, moving them out of those slum areas into proper places, even getting them jobs, things that that will help them get better livelihood, so that most people who use substances also have untreated mental illness. Maybe they have depression, schizophrenia, bipolar, all these things are not being treated, and they are using these substances to cope. Just like how you mentioned someone using alcohol to cope with their sadness. The same way they are using these substances to cope. But it gets to a point after you are using to cope, and then now it becomes something that you can't stop.
Depend on. Oh, okay.
That is it's actually multiple. It's not only MHA. MHA has been doing a lot. We've been doing a lot of outreach programs. In fact, just this Monday, we did an outreach program around to reach as many people who were involved in substances. We spoke to them. But you notice that most of the problems that they have, it's where they are staying, the environment they are exposed to, even the work that they are doing. Maybe they want to work harder. They are carrying out of heavy things, and they want to work harder for longer hours. So they want to use these opioids to make them feel, and you use it's like a pain reliever. So they have less pain, and to make them feel like stronger, and they can work as much for many hours. But over time, after 2 or 3 hours of being high and doing all that work, then you start feeling drowsy, and then you start feeling the withdrawal symptoms. So you have to take another one to continue.
I think we will need to have a conversation on this red properly, where we can truly understand the effects. But we have another question. The question is actually mini. So this is from Kobe. He says, please, good morning. Please, is obesity a mental illness? I know it also involves psychological factors.
Okay, so obesity in itself, I would not say it's a mental illness, but some mental illnesses contribute to obesity or weight gain.
Okay.
So we have some people who have eating disorders. So eating disorders where something I call binge eating disorder. You keep eating even though you are full. And sometimes they can also come from like the brain, where there are some particular parts of our brain that alert our body that you are full, stop eating. And some people don't have that that switch. Like that the body doesn't switch off that we are full, stop eating. And then they keep eating more and more and more and more and more, even when they are 100% full. Some people also use eating as a coping mechanism. Like you are feeling sad, just like
eat ice cream.
Eat ice cream. I mean, eat some ice cream. But if you're eating like 3 taps of ice cream at once because you are feeling sad. That is not a good coping mechanism. That's why I was very careful in terms of like coping mechanisms, because apart from alcohol and drugs, which we know are negative coping mechanisms, even eating too much can be a negative coping mechanism. People cope with stress and anxiety by eating. And even psychologically, yes, when you are trying to help people lose weight, you have to go through, it's not only about telling them to exercise and all those things. You need to get them to a place where they are motivated to change. So motivation to change is one of the things that if you have a good weight loss program, it should be there. Because you have to convince the person, make the person realize that my weight and the way I'm eating is not going to help me. It is something that is destroying my health, and it's something that I want to change. When somebody gets to the point where they want to change or where they want to stop doing something, that is like a very powerful place to be. And then that is where that is because without motivation, now the other things like maybe reducing the unhealthy foods, exercising and all those things now have a stability to stand. But when the person is not motivated to change from the bottom, then you really cannot do much. So all these things, yes, are part of mental health issues.
So the phone lines are open, so please do well to call in and ask your questions. So Kofi Nketia again says, how can you change a narcissistic partner, or I should run?
Personality disorders are one, as I said, is one of the things that it's not easy to, even for us, it's they are very difficult to manage. And if the person themselves hasn't gotten to the point where they have noticed that they need to change, where they notice that and actually has taken steps to go through the process of realizing the negative ways they are relating with other people.
Yeah, we have a caller on the line. Hello, good morning. Thank you. Okay, I think we lost the caller. So please call again. Sorry. Yes.
Yeah.
So narcissistic partner. If a person has not made up their mind to change, should we just run and leave it alone?
Maybe I didn't say run, but find a way of adjusting yourself, because it's not about running, but I find a way of adjusting yourself, because it's not going to be easy to live with somebody who doesn't notice that they have a problem in the first place.
Okay. So this one says, I like the way she takes, I think it's talks. She's cool with her work. God bless you all. This is from Godfred Akakwo BZ, and you guys are looking good, 100. So much love. Thank you for your comment. So this one here, hey, it's also lengthy. Okay. Good morning, Mark. I just want to ask, what can someone do if you really go through heartbreak in different ways, parents' heartbreak, abuse, sexual abuse, and also relationship, and she goes with this hatred in her heart and she hates everybody, being afraid of people, how they will see her if she talks with anger in her heart, and she's not happy. Okay, we have a caller, but we'll come back to this. Hello, good morning. Oh, we've lost our caller again. Okay, so let me continue with the question. She says, and if she talks with anger in her heart, she's not happy, but happiness is not full. What do you think a person will do? I just need advice. Anyway you see yourself, people always hurt you and deceive you and also put blame on you. People will use you and put blame on you. What is the thing that this person will do to overcome drama or trauma she's been going through this all her lifetime till now? That's very difficult to read.
This speak from what the person has spoken and even the words the person has used, I can see that this is somebody who has sort of negative thoughts about themselves. And the person seems to have a lot of relational issues as well. And with the background of childhood trauma, I would say this person...
Okay, please let's put your pin in it. We have the caller back on the line. Hello, Godfred. Thank you so much for calling the Koko Digest Morning Show. Where are you calling from, please?
I'm calling from West Legon.
All right. So what's your question?
Okay. I really like the way the lady was talking about you putting it after treating the person, and the person is living at the place that is the same thing is going on there. So a good direction or a good place for the person to also have a good place. So I won't be like going back to that same place again after treating the person.
Could you please speak up a little? The line is not very clear. Hello?
Okay. I can hear you.
Okay, we can't hear you very well. If you could move a little somewhere clearer.
Like you treating, how she said, you after treating the person.
Hello?
Yeah, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, please. Could you turn down the volume of your set?
You understand? You have to, after you treat the person, you know that this is the slum place is living and this is what is going on.
Could you please move away from your set or lower the volume?
The person has to take a place that you be at the weekend place that you be interesting. They're waking up day in, day out, seeing those things at his eyes.
Okay. I think we've lost the caller. I think he was commending you on the complex trauma and then the narcissistic personality disorder that some people's partners have. We have another question. This one is okay. No, there are about 3. So the first one is from Mrs. Mensah in Kumasi, and she's asking, what are some daily self-care practices that can improve mental health?
So, first of all, as I said, taking care of your physical health, that's the most important thing. Exercising, eating healthy, and then good sleep. That's where you start from. Now, things that you yourself can do to help your mental health is affirmations, daily affirmations to yourself can also help. Speaking positive things to yourself every day can help you. Meditation can be in the form of just so meditation, usually what you do is you try and identify the thoughts that you are having. Most of the time our minds are usually filled with negative. In fact, our default mode is negative thoughts. So identifying those negative thoughts that you are having at every moment and then countering the negative thoughts. That's what meditation helps you to do.
Okay.
Some people who are religious can use prayer also as a form of meditation. As much as possible, when you get the opportunity to relax, find ways, like healthy ways of relaxing. Maintaining good social networks and social relationships are also one of the things you can do. Get out of your house, like don't stay indoors too long, because even seeing the sun helps release some of the healthy chemicals or hormones that we want you to have. If you have a healthy relationship, even having good sex can also help. Oh yeah, it's very important because it releases a lot of endorphins in our body, which helps our mental health. Right. And then also, literally, being very careful of the thoughts. Yeah, usually, when it comes to mental health, I always say that it's your thoughts.
Okay.
Your thoughts are what breed your emotions, and then breed your actions or whatever you do after the emotions. Okay. So when you start teaching yourself to find negative thoughts, challenge those negative thoughts when they come. Okay. That's one of the first things that you have to do. Ensure that your own mental space is a healthy space. Okay. Like many of us have very unhealthy mental spaces. We tend to think a lot of negative things. Yeah. Okay? So have a very healthy mental space. And don't allow other people, good boundaries, don't allow people to bring in negative energy into your space. as much as possible.
Right. Thank you so much. I think we need a part 2 of this. Thank you all so much for your time. And when the part 2 is up, we will definitely come back on set. Thank you so much and have an amazing weekend ahead.
Clog TV, beyond the policy.